If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 161. The organization has an arduous task for you. The preparations for supplies should be fine, right? Uzumaki Jun said with his hands behind his back, walking alongside Gato. The first batch of refugees will arrive in a few days. If Uzumaki fails to calm the refugees' fearful hearts immediately, things will become difficult later. After all, first impressions are the most important. Perhaps just a small action could make these war-torn refugees fully devote themselves to Uzumaki. Everything is ready, Gato nodded. All factories have been working overtime these past few days to produce supplies. The people's morale is very high. Especially after learning about the war outside, everyone is worried about their peaceful lives being disrupted. So they are voluntarily working overtime, wanting to contribute to the nation. Good, Uzumaki Jun nodded in satisfaction. It seemed the political education efforts of various departments over the past few years had been effective. Especially for families with children, all citizens of Uzumaki were required to undergo compulsory education. Although some children lacked the talent to become shinobi, after a series of reforms, the academy was no longer just a place to teach ninjutsu. It also covered basic subjects like mathematics, physics, chemistry, and politics. Uzumaki Jun now understood that rather than waiting for people to voluntarily study science, it was better to use national policies to force them to learn. Otherwise, in a shinobi world where scientists could achieve the same status as shinobi, it would take who knows how long. The historical baggage was far too heavy. A mindset passed down for thousands of years couldn't be easily changed by him. Though some might think these subjects were useless, under the guidance of national policies, most parents would still send their children to the academy. They might not understand why Jun-sama was doing this, but they wouldn't question his decisions. Moreover, ideological and moral education was a compulsory course in the academy. Whether for shinobi or scientific disciplines, it was part of the exams, especially patriotic education, which was explicitly designated as crucial. Anyone who failed would have to retake it. Double their wages for these few days, Uzumaki Jun thought for a moment and said. Let them endure a bit more hardship for now. There was still a long way to go. Uzumaki-Gaku's industrial revolution had only just begun, so there was no need to exploit the workers' enthusiasm. Everything had to be taken step by step. Only by solving problems while developing could Uzumaki achieve stable and sustainable growth. Understood, Gato nodded. I will arrange it. These next few days required everything to be properly arranged, whether it was domestic defense inspections or supply preparations. The Second Shinobi World War was a critical moment for Uzumaki. If handled poorly, the Third War would be troublesome. When airships appeared in the shinobi world, it signaled that distance was no longer an issue, and natural barriers could be conquered. Especially for villages that relied on natural barriers for protection, airships posed an even greater threat. Who knew if one day an enemy village's airship might suddenly appear above their own? So, for some villages, airships might have benefits, but the dangers they brought were far greater. Probably during this time, some shinobi will come to Uzumaki to steal airship technology, Uzumaki Jun muttered as he walked to the entrance of the Uzumaki Public Security Bureau. Muroto Jamin must strengthen defenses. Currently, surveillance cameras had been installed throughout Uzumaki, but they still hadn't found a way to replace chakra crystals with glass. They were still using a batch of chakra crystals Gato had purchased elsewhere. Given Uzumaki small territory, it was enough for now. The glass issue must be resolved. Uzumaki Jun sighed helplessly and entered the Public Security Bureau. He nodded at the officers who greeted him respectfully and asked, "Where is Bureau Chief Muroto Jamin?" Chakra crystals were far too expensive and scarce. For something natural like this, small quantities weren't a problem, but if demand increased, chakra crystals might become subject to external control. Moreover, Uzumaki was developing rapidly. Once the population grew, this small island nation's territory might not be enough. If they had to reclaim land from the sea, chakra crystals wouldn't suffice. He's in his office. Please go in, Jun-sama. Uzumaki Jun nodded and said, "Thank you for your hard work," before heading inside. These past few days without Hibiki by his side had been quite inconvenient. Without someone to arrange and prepare everything for him, his work had been somewhat chaotic. But sending Hibiki away had been a necessary choice. After all, Uzumaki Hibiki had been by his side these past few years, often reading books he had exchanged and immersed in socialist ideology. His cultural level was quite high, at least he understood Jun's thoughts and knew how to write this travel log. This was crucial for silencing certain people. Jun-sama, Miroto-jaemon stood up and bowed when he saw Uzumaki Jun enter. At ease, Uzumaki Jun pulled over a chair and sat down. I'm just here to assign some tasks. Patrols must be strengthened these next few days. You mean? Miroto-jaemon narrowed his eyes. Shinobi will. Uzumaki Jun nodded helplessly. Some villages were so used to being bandits that when they saw something useful, their first thought wasn't to buy it but to steal it. So patrols had to be conducted 24/7 for the next few days. I will arrange it, Miroto-jaemon said solemnly. The Shinoite clan will protect the nation and its people. I trust you, Uzumaki Jun smiled. But I'm worried about insufficient manpower. This time, he didn't give Miroto-jaemon any special coup now. After all, he couldn't solve all their problems for them. For Uzumaki to grow stronger, relying on him alone wasn't enough. Though he wouldn't stand by indifferently, he needed them to feel a sense of urgency. Otherwise, with his help, they might not feel pressured, knowing they had someone to rely on. As for the Kamaizuru clan, have them stay alert too. Uzumaki Jun was aware of the Kamaizuru clan's assistance. Miroto-jaemon had already submitted a report. He was moved that the Kamaizuru clan had voluntarily joined the defense of Uzumaki. It seemed they were gradually beginning to see themselves as citizens of Uzumaki. But don't worry about the debt, Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. I've already warned Kakuzu. As for Miroto-jaemon borrowing money from the Kamaizuru clan, collusion between officials and merchants was unacceptable. Fortunately, Kamaizuru's political awareness was high enough to refuse outright. These next few days, he won't. However, before Uzumaki Jun could finish, he used the Flying Thunder God technique and disappeared, leaving Miroto-jaemon stunned. Won't do what? Zetsu. Uzumaki Jun returned to his office and, upon seeing the black and white figure of Zetsu, said excitedly, You're finally here. I've completed the tasks you assigned, Zetsu said suspiciously. The filming is also underway. Why was this Uzumaki brat suddenly so excited to see him? Did something else happen? Those are minor matters, Uzumaki Jun patted Zetsu's shoulder and put on a serious expression. Zetsu. The organization has an arduous task for you. You must carry it out diligently. Chapter 162, I'll tell Mom later. Zetsu stared expressionlessly at Uzumaki Jun in front of him, unsure whether to voice the thoughts in his mind. What kind of nonsense was this? The organization had another important mission? This organization had nothing to do with him. It was entirely created by Jun himself. He was just a mere errand boy. Thinking of this, Zetsu felt a wave of sorrow. Why had he brought this brat into the fold back then? If not for that, how could he have fallen to such a state? He, Zetsu, had lived for over 1,000 years, pulling the strings behind the scenes to stir up storms in the shinobi world. Yet now, he had become the errand boy of this red-haired brat. Trust me, Uzumaki Jun said solemnly. Everything I do is for the peace of the shinobi world, for our noble goal. Only by throwing the 5 great shinobi villages into chaos can we seize the tailed beasts. My heart is loyal to the organization. I would never betray it. Please believe me. I'll believe you when pigs fly. Zetsu looked at Jun's earnest, sacrificial expression and felt his liver ache. If not for having worked with him a few times, he might have actually been fooled. A weapons dealer talking about peace in the shinobi world? Though Zetsu had never gone to school or read books, his 1,000 years of existence weren't for nothing. Didn't you say before that you wanted to buy the tailed beasts peacefully? Zetsu said flatly. You keep changing your mind. It's hard for me to keep up. He had an important mission to fulfill. He didn't have time to run errands for this brat. Ah, plans can't keep up with changes, Uzumaki Jun sighed. Back then, I was just a child. I didn't think things through. He had wanted Uzumaki to develop peacefully, but the other villages wouldn't allow it. For Uzumaki to grow strong, war was inevitable. The only question was what form that war would take. You really are just a child, huh? Zetsu stared at Jun speechlessly. This brat had no shame. In his 1,000 years of life, he had never met someone as thick-skinned as this kid. And now Jun was calling himself a child? Who would believe that? What's the mission? Zetsu asked resignedly. He couldn't beat Jun now. After 5 years, there were probably very few in the shinobi world who could stand against this brat. He had no idea how strong Jun had become. So, he had recruited this guy himself. No matter how much it hurt, he had to endure it. Just wait until mom is revived. Then I'll tell her everything. Good, very dutiful. Uzumaki Jun was pleased with Zetsu's attitude. He was a man who got things done. With someone like him helping, how could Uzushiagaku not prosper? You're already familiar with this task, Jun said with a smile. It's just stirring up the shinobi world and plunging it into war. Konoha. The Senju clan has already headed to the battlefield, right? Sarutobi Hiruzen puffed on his pipe as he looked at his old friend. As expected of the first Hokage and Sensei's clan. They still love Konoha in their hearts. Yes, Dans nodded, but he couldn't shake a sense of unease. But aside from Nawaki and Tsunade, the entire clan has left the village. For some reason, this scene filled him with foreboding. Were the Senju really willing to sacrifice their entire clan for Konoha? That was too noble. Enough, Hiruzen said sternly. The Senju are Konoha's heroes. He sighed. Perhaps we were wrong before. Once they return, we won't take action against them again. They are still Sensei's clan. Understood, Dans frowned but eventually relaxed. I'll comply. Maybe he was overthinking it. After all, the Senju were the first Hokage and Sensei's clan. They would never betray Konoha. A pang of guilt struck him. Had he been wrong to treat the Senjus so harshly before? By the way, how are things with the Uchiha? Hiruzen took a drag from his pipe, his gaze shifting slightly. No problems, I hope. Everything's been arranged, Dans nodded. The Uchiha have also sent some shinobi to the battlefield. I'll keep an eye on them. This time, not too many will leave the village. I trust your judgment, Hiruzen smiled, relieved. After all these years, I know how you operate. True, Dan smiled nostalgically. It's been so many years since we took over the village from Sensei. From treading on thin ice at the start to now. Konoha has flourished under our leadership. All those years of bearing the blame had been worth it. But now, I think the Uchiha, despite their stoic faces and blunt words, are still part of the village. There's no need to treat them so harshly. Hiruzen's pipe clattered onto the desk as he stared at his old friend in shock. What was he planning now? After listening to Jun's words, Zetsu nearly blurted out his thoughts. But remembering he couldn't beat Jun, he held back. He still had an important mission. Reluctantly, he said, didn't you think the 3 great villages attacking Konoha was enough? Why the sudden change? This was troublesome. Though he had been working on this very task lately, Zetsu felt uneasy. What terrible ideas did this brat have now? If things continued like this, his role as the shadow manipulator of the shinobi world would be exposed. He had to clarify things first. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare act recklessly. This Uzumaki brat wasn't like the straightforward, kind-hearted Uzumaki clansman. Zetsu suddenly recalled the magnet release and had a thought. Could he really be of mixed blood? I came here to tell you something, Zetsu quickly interjected. Konoha has already moved against the land of the sky. Better to divert the brat's attention first. He needed to investigate what was happening in the shinobi world before making any decisions. Otherwise, starting a war now felt too risky. They've made their move. Uzumaki Jun looked surprised. When did it start? He had long instructed Zetsu to monitor the land of the sky. The moment Konoha declared war, he was to be informed. He hadn't expected it to happen so soon. Konoha's forces have already set out for the land of the sky, Zetsu said, relieved to see Jun's attention shift. They should arrive soon. In that case. Jun stroked his chin thoughtfully. The land of the sky possessed a certain technology crucial to Uzushiagaku's current needs. The forced extraction of chakra. If Uzushiagaku could acquire this, their research on chakra extraction would advance significantly. Moreover, as the tailed beasts in Naruto had said, as long as chakra existed in the world, they would never disappear. Chakra paper was made from trees that absorbed chakra, meaning chakra energy existed in the environment. If they could extract chakra from the surroundings, they could phase out human-made chakra batteries. After all, Uzushiagakuer didn't have that many disabled shinobi. If other villages started purchasing chakra batteries, production wouldn't keep up. Technological advancement also relied on vast energy reserves. The Land of the Sky's flying fortress, in particular, was clearly a scientific ninja tool. Therefore, their technology had to be obtained. Sigh. Uzumaki Jun sighed, then smiled at Zetsu like he was looking at his loyal subordinate. For the organization's growth, it's time for us to act again. Hey! Chapter 166, Is it too much to borrow a few of your people? My name is Black Zetsu. I am the third son of the Mother of Chakra, the younger brother of the Sage of Six Paths. But I do not acknowledge Hago Romo and Hamura as mother's children at all. Back when I had not even been born, mother loved those two so much. She took care of them alone, shared her chakra with them, and taught them how to use it. At the same time, she warned them not to reveal chakra to ordinary people. But those two unfilial sons actually disobeyed mother's words. They secretly taught ordinary people how to use chakra and, worse, listened to a toad's words and turned against mother. Mother loved them so much, yet they didn't trust her and instead chose to believe that strange toad? I heard that toad has now become the great toad sage. Mother never intended to harm this world. She told Hamura and Hago Romo not to let others learn chakra so that she could reclaim it more easily. But they refused to listen and recklessly spread chakra to others. Even then, mother did not blame them. However, after ordinary people learned chakra, mother had no choice but to extract their chakra to feed the 10 tails. All of this was to protect this world, to resist invaders from beyond. Yet, in the end, she was sealed away by the two children she loved most. That day, I was born. I watched helplessly as mother, so vulnerable and heartbroken, was sealed away by her own sons. That day, mother wept. Now, Black Zetsu feels like he is about to cry too. All I wanted was to divert this brat's attention so I could investigate what he was really up to. But once again, I've been forced to act for the sake of the organization. Black Zetsu feels a faint sorrow in his heart. Why did I recruit this brat back then? Was it because the darkness hidden in this brat's heart was even greater than mine? Otherwise, how could I have been so blind as to bring him in? He reached cage level in just a few months. A few more months, and he was almost as strong as Lord Madara. Now, who the hell knows how strong he is? Why did Hagoromo's descendants produce such a monster? What do you want now? Zetsu asked warily, staring at the little brat Uzumaki Jun. Why are there always missions? I want to rest too. Do weapons, as tools of will, not deserve breaks? Do they not deserve wages? Now, for this brat's sake, I can only work for free. Don't worry, Uzumaki Jun said with a smile. Trust me, our dream will come true. All of this is for the sake of peace. Stop talking about peace. Zetsu's liver ached as he looked at Jun. That was just something I used to trick you all. Not for you to use against me. Who the hell wants peace? I just want to save mother. But Uzumaki Jun ignored Zetsu's grim expression. Instead, with a fanatical look in his eyes, he raised his head at a 45-degree angle and declared passionately, we will definitely change this sick world. We will bring true peace to this world. Zetsu shut his mouth, deciding not to talk to this brat anymore. It was always like this, he could never extract any useful information. Sigh. Lord Madara, what should we do about our plan? Now, he didn't even know what to do anymore. In this organization, he was just an errand boy. This brat never listened to him. Village Chief! Village Chief! Konoha is about to attack. A Skynin rushed into the office in a panic, shouting urgently. Konoha's main force is almost here. That's the strongest of the 5 great shinobi villages. What should their Sky Ninja village do? Shut up! The Sky Village Chief roared. We are Skynin. Why should we fear Konoha? But the village chief's heart was also panicking. All he did was demand that Konoha return their weapons. Was that too much to ask? Was it? Konoha stole their weapons, and now they even want to kill people? Where is the dignity of the strongest of the 5 great shinobi villages? Do they deserve the title of Peace Ambassadors of the shinobi world? If they didn't want to return them, they could have just said so. The Sky Ninja village would have let it go, treating it as a gift to Konoha. But now, they've actually sent a large army to the Sky Ninja village. What are they trying to do? They want my life. Village chief, what should we do? The Skynin, seeing that the chief wasn't nervous, relaxed a little. It seemed the chief had a plan. After all, it was just Konoha. Their Sky Ninja village was. Actually, they really couldn't win. Their village only had decent technology. They had no manpower, no elite shinobi. They could only rely on their technology to maintain confidence in the shinobi world. But their technology still couldn't match Konoha's. Konoha is almost here, the Skynin said cautiously. Should we negotiate for peace? Konoha probably won't attack then. Everyone in the shinobi world knew Konoha was a naive, peace-loving village. If they surrendered, Konoha would withdraw its troops. They might even get some benefits. Withdraw. The village chief glared coldly at the Skynin. The Skynin have no cowards. It's just Konoha. He wanted to surrender too. But remembering how brutally the hidden grass village was crushed, if he surrendered, would Konoha ever forgive them? So they absolutely could not surrender. Village chief, you mean? The Skynin looked at the chief with admiration. It seemed the chief had some secret technique to resist Konoha. Maybe the Sky Ninja village had already developed some secret weapon? Ahem. The village chief coughed lightly and nodded with a smile. For now, take all the scientists to the underground cave in the forest. As long as the mountain remains, there will always be firewood. He had long anticipated that the Sky Ninja village would face jealousy and had prepared for everything. Once they sacrificed some Skynin to make Konoha believe their village was destroyed, then. In a few years, their secret weapon would be complete. By then, it wouldn't be too late for revenge. He had to preserve his life to continue serving the Sky Ninja village. He absolutely could not die here. But the Skynin stared blankly at his chief. What? What did that mean? Village chief, what are you saying? Uzumaki Jun paid no attention to Zetsu's regret. Whether he regretted it or not had nothing to do with him. Kagaya's white Zetsu didn't need wages, didn't need rest, didn't need food, and had excellent disguise skills. Why not use them? Besides, he would eventually help this filial son save his mother. Borrowing a few of his tools wasn't too much to ask, right? Moreover, this operation really needed White Zetsu's cooperation not just for filming, but also to play a role. The cunning Skynin hadn't all been wiped out by Konoha. Some were hiding in the underground forest. To prevent future threats to Uzushiagakuer, these Skynin could not be left alive. He only needed their technicians and technical documents. As for the rest, leave them to Konoha. He was sure Konoha would be happy to eliminate them completely. Since that was the case, as Konoha's ally, he had an obligation to help. And he had to add fuel to Konoha's battlefield. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Uzumaki Jun formed a hand seal. Then, under Zetsu's puzzled gaze, 3 figures appeared. Each different. From now on, call me X3. Pain, the Deva Path. Uchiha Shin. Uzumaki Jun. Chapter 164, Unauthorized Use of the Organization's Name to Harm. Playing 3 roles at once was quite stressful for Uzumaki Jun. If not for his well-distributed attribute points, with no major weaknesses, he wouldn't dare to attempt this. The only thing he needed to pay attention to was his chakra nature. As long as the innate Dojutsu clans didn't notice, there wouldn't be any issues. Moreover, he was an all-nature shinobi. As long as he was careful and made sure each persona used a different chakra nature, there wouldn't be any problems. Of course, if the Whirlpool White Zetsu were here, it would be even better. With Tobi's skin disguise, this act could be performed more convincingly. Unfortunately, he was still taking care of Boss Madara. So for now, they would just have to make do. Remember your mission. The timing must be precise, Uzumaki Jun said sternly, looking at the frowning Zetsu. The organization believes in you. After assigning Zetsu's task, Uzumaki Jun headed to the Hidden Sky Village with his clones. By now, the Konoha shinobi were probably teaching the Sky Ninjas a lesson. After all, no matter what, the Hidden Sky Village stood no chance against Konoha. Therefore, to ensure Konoha cleaned up thoroughly, Uzumaki Jun planned to put on a grand show for the entire shinobi world. Hidden Sky Village. Have you cleared everything? Asked a white-haired young man with a short sword strapped to his back. Have you checked all the corners and other areas? This mission was extremely important. When the three great shinobi villages and the Hidden Rain village declared war on Konoha, many other villages thought Konoha was finished. As a result, numerous small villages emerged and declared war on Konoha. Although Hatake Sakumo didn't know whether the village had actually stolen their weapons. For the sake of Konoha's stability, he didn't mind staining his hands with blood. This mission could not afford any mistakes. Only by annihilating the Hidden Sky village could they intimidate the other villages and prevent them from acting recklessly. Everything's cleared. The Hyuga and Uchiha clans have thoroughly scouted the area. No other sky ninjas were found, a Konoha shinobi said with a mocking tone. With this level of strength, they actually dared to declare war on us. They must have a death wish. Hearing this, Hatake Sakumo frowned. He also found it strange. The Hidden Sky village's strength was far too weak. Not only did they have few jonin, but even their genin numbers were pitiful. How could they have the audacity to threaten Konoha? What were they trying to do? Were they tired of living and wanted to go to the Pure Land? Enough, focus on cleaning up the battlefield, Hatake Sakumo shook his head and said seriously. We need to hurry to the battlefield in the Land of Rain. This battle was just a minor skirmish. The real problem was the three great shinobi villages in the Land of Rain. Who was that Mangekyo bastard? Why did he frame Konoha? If not for that, they wouldn't be in this mess. Thankfully, we have the Land of Whirlpools as an ally, Hatake Sakumo sighed. Back then, he had resented the Land of Whirlpools for detaining Konoha shinobi. Now, it seemed, Konoha's shinobi had gone too far. Even though the Land of Whirlpools demanded 500 million ryo, it wasn't excessive. After all, it was rare to find an ally willing to help Konoha in such dire times. Hatake Sakumo and most of the village still didn't know that Konoha had sold off the legacies left by the first and second Hokage. We should now. Boom. Before Hatake Sakumo could finish giving orders, a loud explosion suddenly erupted from the nearby forest. Explosive tags. The Konoha shinobi immediately took defensive stances, staring in shock at the flames rising from the forest. What happened? Let's go. Without hesitation, Hatake Sakumo made a quick decision. Check it out. This was still within the Hidden Sky village's territory. How could there suddenly be an explosion? Who was responsible? Damn it. The leader of the Hidden Sky village looked at the one-eyed masked man before him, his heart filled with despair. No matter how well they had hidden, they were still discovered. And the one who appeared before him was the psychotic clan slaughterer, Mangekyo Uchiha Shin. Was the heavens determined to destroy the Hidden Sky village? The village leader was on the verge of tears, suddenly filled with regret. Why had he gotten involved in this mess? Provoking Konoha? Now, it had backfired. The enemy had come seeking revenge. But was this Mangekyo shinobi really from Konoha? Haha, it's all a misunderstanding, the village leader said obsequiously to Uchiha Shin. We surrender. The Hidden Sky village unconditionally surrenders to Konoha. To be honest, I've always admired Konoha and wanted to contribute to the peace of the shinobi world. Believe me, I'm sincere. I hope Konoha can give me a chance. However, tch. Uchiha Shin sneered. Why didn't you say that when you declared war on Konoha? Damn it. So this Uchiha really was here for revenge. The village leader's face turned ashen. It seemed this Uchiha wouldn't let him go. Now, he had no choice but to use the secret weapon. Otherwise, the Hidden Sky village would truly be destroyed, and he would become its greatest sinner. So, don't kill me. I have a secret to tell you. The village leader shouted. Uchiha Shin felt a headache coming on as he looked at the Hidden Sky village leader. How could such a coward become the leader of a village? Was there some hidden agenda here? Our Hidden Sky village is researching a secret project, the village leader said quickly, seeing Uchiha Shin's silence. Once it succeeds, the Hidden Sky village could become the sixth great Konoha could dominate the shinobi world. Believe me. I'm not lying. At that moment, Uchiha Shin. A furious roar suddenly came from behind. You dare betray the organization. The village leader didn't even finish speaking before turning around. He saw another masked figure in similar attire flying toward them. Those eyes. It seemed the intel from the Land of Rain was correct. Those were the Rin-Egan. He was the legendary Pain, the Deva Path. So now, The village leader seemed to realize something, his heart surging with excitement. The heavens are helping the hidden sky village. It seemed this Devapath had come here to hunt down the traitorous Uchiha. Humph! Uchiha Shin looked up at the Devapath floating in the sky and sneered. Devapath! Pain ignored Uchiha Shin's mockery, coldly staring at him. You betrayed the organization, unauthorizedly used its name to massacre clans for their Kekii Genkai, and stole weapons. I misjudged you. I thought you were also a man of ideals, striving for the peace of the shinobi world. Yet you. How could you face the organization? How could you face your comrades? The Devapath looked at Uchiha Shin with deep disappointment and shouted, where is your belief in peace? Stop joking. That ridiculous notion of peace. Uchiha Shin laughed coldly. It's just child's play. It can never be achieved. You. Pain was enraged by Uchiha Shin's words. I won't allow you to blaspheme the organization's dream. Die. Captain, what should we do now? A Konoha shinobi asked Hitaki Sakumo nervously. Should we help that Uchiha? Wait, Hitaki Sakumo said after a moment of thought. Let's see what's going on first. He still didn't understand the situation. Acting rashly could bring trouble to Konoha. Although that Mangekyo user seemed to be from Konoha. For some reason, he felt something was off. However, no way. The Uchiha clansmen naturally disagreed. After so many years, seeing the Mangekyo again filled them with excitement. If that person was truly a member of the Uchiha clan. The Uchiha's rise was finally at hand. He is my clansman, a Konoha shinobi. We must help him, the Uchiha clansman said fervently. Konoha never abandons its comrades. Chapter 165, That place is Konoha. Hurry up, hurry up! Uzumaki Jun shouted at the group of researchers in front of him. Do you want to live or not? Come here quickly. After Uchiha Shin used a fire jutsu to blast open a crack, he had infiltrated the hidden cave where the Skynin were hiding. After dealing with all the Skynin, he now needed to quickly evacuate the researchers from the Sky Ninja village. As for their loyalty, grudges, or whatever. In any case, once these researchers were brought back to Uzushiagakuer, they would be under strict surveillance. They wouldn't be granted freedom until they fully understood the core values of Uzushiagakuer: patriotism, dedication, honesty, kindness, etc. So, other matters could be dealt with later. Right now, they had to act fast. Otherwise, if Konoha barged in for no reason or discovered something, it would be troublesome. However, the researchers looked at the Skynin lying on the ground and fell silent, not obeying Uzumaki Jun's words. Seeing this, Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes. Were these people planning to live and die with the Sky Ninja village? If so, then they absolutely couldn't be taken back to Uzushiagakuer. Who knew what kind of trouble they might cause? After all, mad scientists were scarier than cage-level shinobi. Besides, they had already obtained the technical research data. At worst, Uzushiagakuer could take things step by step. Seems like you all want to die. Uzumaki Jun coldly stared at them. In that case, I'll grant your wish. Just as Uzumaki Jun was about to act. One researcher raised his hand fearfully. I'll go with you. I'm not from the Sky Ninja village. I was just captured by them. Good. Uzumaki Jun nodded in satisfaction and snorted. Come here. Then, he glared at the remaining people. In this kind of situation, as long as one person gave in, the rest would follow. I surrender too. Me too, I was also captured by them. And me. Uzumaki Jun nodded in satisfaction. Then, he looked at the few who remained silent. It seemed these were the die-hard loyalists of the Sky Ninja village. Even in this situation, they stayed silent and even cursed those who betrayed them, saying things like, the village fed you, sheltered you, and protected you, yet you still betray it. These people couldn't be kept. If that was the case, then... Fire style! Uchiha Shin dodged Pain's taijutsu, formed hand seals, and shouted, Great Fireball Jutsu! A massive fireball shot toward Pain. The Konohanin watching nearby were all stunned. What an astonishing amount of chakra! Especially the Uchiha clan members, who were so excited they were about to faint. This fire jutsu and the Mangeki Sharingan undoubtedly belonged to an Uchiha. Even though the chakra was unusually vast, as long as he was from the Uchiha clan, it was fine. Once he returned to the clan, their family's rise would be assured. Maybe even the Hokage position. Hurry, save him. He's one of the Uchiha. One Uchiha shouted excitedly. We must save him. Hatake Sakumo, however, remained silent. Seeing the massive fireball, he wasn't sure whether he should save this Uchiha. If he handled this poorly, it could lead to major trouble later. Moreover, this kind of battle. It was best not to interfere lightly. Hatake Sakumo sighed inwardly. If only the Hokage were here now. Watching the two masked men with distinctive eyes fighting, he frowned. Who was this man called Devapath? To possess such strength? Damn it! Hatake Sakumo's expression darkened as he saw where the fireball was headed. This is bad. The enormous flames completely engulfed the hidden cave of the Sky Ninja village. The Sky Ninja village leader let out a final scream, then no more sound came. What is this Uchiha trying to do? Hatake Sakumo's face turned grim. Although his mission was to destroy the Sky Ninja village, this Manjiki user. Every time he appeared, he wiped out an entire clan. This time, it was even worse, he annihilated the entire Sky Ninja village. Konoha's reputation would surely take another hit. Was he really from Konoha? Why did it feel like he was digging a pit for Konoha? Now, it was like mud stuck in their pants. Even if it wasn't shit, it still looked like shit. Other villages would definitely seize this opportunity to slander Konoha, especially since Konoha's forces were present at the Sky Ninja village. To outsiders, it would look like the Manjiki user led Konoha's troops to attack the Sky Ninja village. Just as Hatake Sakumo was lost in thought. Shinra Tensei! Devapath suddenly roared. Then the Konohanin watched in confusion, sensing nothing. There was no chakra fluctuation. Why had Uchiha Shin been sent flying? Had he been attacked? Hatake Sakumo fell silent and turned to a Hyuga beside him. Did you see anything? No. The Hyuga shook his head solemnly. I didn't detect any chakra fluctuation. This technique was bizarre. They hadn't seen anything, yet the Manjiki user was sent flying. Could it be an ability of the Rinnegan? The Hyuga wondered. Otherwise, why? The Rinnegan. Hatake Sakumo frowned. They knew nothing about the abilities of this legendary eye. Was that strange jutsu really one of the Rinnegan's powers? He would have to report this to the Hokage. They needed to be cautious about the Rinnegan. Meanwhile, all who betray the organization must die. Pain flew toward Uchiha Shin's position. He had no idea that their coordinated act, just shouting Shinra Tensei, had already made the Konohanin suspicious of the Rinnegan's abilities. Not that they were wrong, but this Rinnegan was fake. As for the earlier attack, it was just a shout, and Uchiha Shin had flown back on his own. Ha, how laughable! Uchiha Shin jumped up again, exchanging a few blows with Pain before sneering. The organization? Just a bunch of naive fools. Naive? Pain roared. What's so laughable about achieving peace in the shinobi world? What's so naive about it? The Konohanin listening to the two distinctive-eyed men fell silent. Why did it feel like the Manjiki user was the villain here? Was he really from Konoha? But the Uchiha clan didn't care. They were still desperately urging Hatake Sakumo to help save the Manjiki user. Captain Hatake, that's a member of the Uchiha clan. Our comrade. We should help him. Seeing the Manjiki user being overwhelmed, the Uchiha were frantic. If this Manjiki user lost, the Uchiha's hope would be gone. At this moment, that ridiculous piece. Uchiha Shin laughed. Your method of if everyone gives a little love won't work. Only war is the true path to peace. I won't play with you anymore. I'll take my leave now. Stop. Seeing Uchiha Shin trying to flee, Pain shouted and immediately gave chase. The Konohanin watching this fell silent again. They weren't fighting anymore? Only Hatake Sakumo frowned as he watched the direction they were running. Something felt off. This direction. Konoha. Chapter 166, Victory will always belong to the righteous side. Great Elder, these are the research personnel from the Hidden Sky Village. Uzumaki Jun pointed to the dozen or so nervous researchers beside him and said, please arrange for them. And these are the research technologies from the Hidden Sky Village. He formed a hand seal. Summoning Jutsu. He directly retrieved the items from his system backpack. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. The Great Elder nodded with a smile. He understood Jun's intention to keep a close eye on them. After all, they were outsiders. For now, they couldn't be allowed to roam freely in the land of whirlpools. Then I'll leave it to you, Great Elder. Uzumaki Jun nodded. Seeing that everything was arranged, he immediately used the Flying Thunder God technique to leave. He was still in the middle of filming and couldn't afford to be absent for long. So, he estimated that they should have reached Konoha by now. Damn it! Hitaki Sakumo's heart was on the verge of collapse. Why had Konoha been ordered to annihilate the Hidden Sky Village? It was to intimidate the other villages and prevent them from acting recklessly. Then, the Hokage would issue a statement declaring that the Manjiki Sharingan did not belong to Konoha and that Konoha had not stolen their ninja tools. This would demonstrate Konoha's commitment to peace and its resolve. But if the other villages insisted on making unreasonable demands, Konoha was not afraid of war as long as they were prepared to bear the consequences. But now, it was over. Everything was ruined. Those two masked men were fleeing straight toward Konoha, and the entire shinobi world had seen it. By tomorrow, Konoha would be headline news again. This was undeniable proof. Didn't everyone see the Manjiki users escaping toward Konoha? No one would care whether the two masked men were doing it intentionally or not. As long as it benefited them, nothing else mattered. The Hidden Stone Village and the Hidden Cloud Village were probably laughing behind their backs. Originally, they were the righteous side. Now, they even controlled the narrative. If they didn't unite with other villages to attack Konoha, force them to hand over the Manjiki, and demand territorial concessions and reparations, it would be a miracle. Hitaki Sakumo couldn't help but suspect that these two were acting. Otherwise, why did he feel so strongly that he'd been set up? This is unacceptable. Hitaki Sakumo said with a grim expression. Hurry up and stop them. They had to intercept them on the road and capture them to bring them back to Konoha. Only then would Konoha have a chance to clear its name. Yes. All the Konoha shinobi realized the gravity of the situation. This was no time to spectate. If they didn't handle this properly, Konoha would be fighting the entire shinobi world alone. However, Uchiha Shin and Pain ran while unleashing jutsu, their expressions filled with hatred. But their speed never slowed. As Konoha grew closer, Uchiha Shin and Pain frowned. It was about time. Why hadn't Zetsu arranged for reinforcements yet? This act required Konoha's cooperation. Otherwise, it wouldn't look convincing. They glanced at the hidden Zetsu, who gave them a signal. Uchiha Shin and Pain knew everything was ready. So, do you think running back to Konoha will save you? Pain said coldly. All traitors to the organization must die. Humph. Uchiha Shin replied indifferently. Save your words for when you catch me. Meanwhile, Uzumaki Jun, who had teleported to White Zetsu's side using the Flying Thunder God technique, sighed helplessly. He didn't want to do this, but for the sake of the land of whirlpools, Konoha had to take the blame. In the end, he would save them, turning Konoha's solo fight against the shinobi world into a free-for-all. And he had already decided on the winning side. As the righteous faction, how could Konoha not win? This was the formula for movies. Victory will always belong to the righteous side. When Uchiha Shin arrived at the Hidden Sky Village. Lord Dan's, Captain Aberme needs to speak with you. A root shinobi bowed respectfully to Dan's. He's found some clues and requests your immediate presence. What is it? Dan's frowned slightly at the subordinate's words and said coolly, lead the way. Yes. The root shinobi stood up and escorted Dan's out of root. However, shortly after, Lord Dan's, a root shinobi guarding the base looked at the Dans before him in confusion. Why had he returned so soon? Had he really discovered something and come back to assign a mission? Dans nodded faintly and said coldly, take some men to the village outskirts immediately. Intercept the enemy and retrieve the Manjiki. Yes, Lord Dans. Though puzzled was the Manjiki really the villages, the root shinobi didn't voice his doubts. He acknowledged the order and turned to gather the team for the mission. After he left, Dans transformed into a white, sharp-toothed White Zetsu. Tisk, that kid really is your bad luck, White Zetsu muttered helplessly. Now that the mission's done, I'll take my leave. Even after living 1,000 years, he was still running errands for that brat. So, as descendants of Hago Romo, consider this an honor. With that, he sank into the ground. Where exactly are we going? Dans, accompanied by Root Shinobi, frowned at the subordinate leading the way. Are we there yet? Please wait a moment, Lord Dans. We're almost there, the Root Shinobi said respectfully. It's just ahead. Hearing this, Dans suppressed his curiosity and nodded faintly. As a high-ranking Konoha official, he had to maintain his composure. We're here. The Root Shinobi suddenly stopped in front of a forest. Lord Dans, please wait here. Captain Aberame said there might be danger inside, so let me scout first. Fine. Dans nodded. He wanted to see what this was all about. The Root Squad leader turned and ran into the depths of the forest. Then, out of Dan's sight, he reverted to his white form. Whew! That was close, White Zetsu gasped. Thank goodness my disguise skills are top-notch. Otherwise, I might have had to sacrifice myself for that brat. Time to get out of here. Let them wait. Leading them this far should be enough. His mission was complete. The rest was up to that Uzumaki brat. Lord Hokage, Lord Dans isn't at route. An ANBU shinobi appeared in the Hokage's office and reported respectfully. I've already sent people to search the village. Gone again. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned upon hearing this. Where has Dans gone this time? He had wanted to summon him to discuss the war, but now he wasn't even at route. Go ask the Uchiha clan, Hiruzen said, taking a puff of his pipe. Perhaps he's gone there again. Lately, his old friend had been unusually friendly with the Uchiha. Had he forgotten the second Hokage's arrangements? The Uchiha were supposed to remain subdued in the village. Allowing them to go on missions was already a violation of the second's orders. Dans, what are you planning? Hiruzen muttered, deep in thought. What exactly is going on? Dan stared at the forest ahead. The Root Shinobi had secretly brought him out of the village, claiming there was danger and asking him to wait outside. But it had been so long. Why hadn't he returned? Humph. Dan's eyes turned icy. If this isn't a serious matter, you'll be reporting to Root for punishment. For now. He would wait here and see what this was all about. Meanwhile. What the? Hitaki Sakumo stared blankly at the ANBU shinobi who had suddenly appeared. There was something he really wanted to say right now. Chapter 167, Shinra Tensei. Hitaki Sakumo's face turned green. He was just about to lead the Konoha to charge forward and capture both masked men when Konoha's ANBU suddenly jumped out? Could that Manjiki really be from Konoha, a secret weapon hidden by the village? Were the clan massacres and weapon thefts really all done by Konoha? If not, why would Konoha's ANBU only block the Rinnegan user? This was clearly meant to cover the Manjiki user's retreat. Lord Hokage, what exactly are you trying to do? Hitaki Sakumo looked toward Konoha with a face on the verge of tears. If they were going to do something like this, couldn't they at least do it secretly? Or at least give him a heads up so he could prepare and provide support. After all, no matter what, he, Hitaki Sakumo, was part of ANBU, one of their own. Now, things were ruined. Tomorrow's Ninja World headlines would definitely feature Konoha. Move out. Hitaki Sakumo gritted his teeth and ordered the Konoha beside him. Assist the ANBU and block the Rinnegan user. But remember, do not harm anyone. Judging from the earlier situation, Konoha and the Rinnegan user didn't seem to be mortal enemies. Moreover, since the identity of the Manjiki user was still unclear, and he hadn't received any orders from the Hokage, it was best not to escalate things. Besides, this Rinnegan user who could fly was no ordinary ninja. Even if they wanted to keep him here, it probably wouldn't be possible. Right now, the only option was to stop the fight and assess the situation. Hitaki Sakumo sighed inwardly and immediately shined next to the Rinnegan user. Please stop. However, before he could finish. Boom. He was instantly kicked away by Pain's Shunshin. Did they think his cage-level taijutsu was just for show? Even if you're the Konoha White Fang now, you're no match for me. Finally showing yourselves. Pain coldly smirked as he looked at the Konoha who had appeared. You've been following me the whole way, only acting now. That Manjiki user's defection was clearly orchestrated by Konoha. Hitaki Sakumo flipped back up and touched his ribs. Damn, this Rinnegan user's taijutsu was ridiculously strong. If he weren't a swordsman with a tough body, he'd probably be calling for a medic right now. And Was it a sensor ninja or the Rinnegan's ability? Hatake Sakumo frowned. It seemed they had been discovered long ago. So. Holy shit! Even if those ANBU hadn't shown up, the Manjiki user would still have been linked to Konoha. Apologies, we mean no harm, Hatake Sakumo quickly said. We were just. Humph, no harm. Pain sneered. Because of your interference, that Manjiki user has already escaped. Escaped? All the Konohanin turned to look where the Manjiki user had been standing. Sure enough. He was gone? How had none of them noticed? As expected of the Manjiki. One of the Uchiha clansmen exclaimed in admiration. But. Damn it, now was not the time for that. While the ninja under Hatake Sakumo tried to negotiate with the Rinnegan user, the ANBU remained indifferent. Their orders were to block the Rinnegan. Anything else was irrelevant to them. Actually. Hatake Sakumo stepped forward helplessly. If we also say we don't know him, do you think? However. Enough talk. Let's settle this with action. Pain interrupted sharply. Let me see what gives Konoha the audacity to declare war on the Akatsuki. Lord Hokage, we couldn't find Lord Dans in the village, an ANBU operative reported respectfully to Sarutobi Hiruzen. He wasn't at the Uchiha compound either. Not found. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and muttered. Where did Dans go? During wartime, instead of staying in the village on standby, he was wandering around. What was he trying to do? Sigh. Sarutobi Hiruzen exhaled. Never mind. But before he could finish. Lord Hokage. Another ANBU Jonin suddenly appeared in the Hokage's office, looking urgent. What is it? Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart skipped a beat. This was definitely a sign of trouble. Traces of battle were found in the forest outside the village. It seems some ANBU operatives left the village without authorization. What? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. ANBU acting without orders? This was a serious issue. Only ninja who followed orders were valuable, especially ANBU the Hokage's direct subordinates. Acting without authorization was unacceptable unless there was no other explanation. Have you identified who it was? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked sternly. Were there any mission records? Not yet, the ANBU Jonin replied. And there are no records of it. In that case. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at the ANBU operatives waiting for orders, suddenly feeling a sense of unease. Dans had left the village without permission, and now. ANBU had also left without permission. Was there some connection? Or was it root? At this thought, Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes sharpened. He ordered the ANBU Jonin below, dispatch ANBU immediately to investigate. If you find Dans, order him to return at once. Yes. X2. Watching the ANBU depart to carry out his orders, Sarutobi Hiruzen took a long drag from his pipe and stared blankly at the reports on his desk. Dans, don't do anything reckless. So strong. Hatake Sakumo's eyes widened as he stared at the Rinnegan user floating mid-air. This Rinnegan user's taijutsu and ninjutsu were both incredibly powerful. He was completely outmatched. Even with so many Jonin on their side, they still couldn't stop him. Especially his own sword techniques, the Rinnegan user dodged them effortlessly. Just who was this person? Or rather, what exactly was the Akatsuki? Were they really just a peace organization in the ninja world? And according to rumors from the Land of Rain, this Akatsuki had a member who once fought the first Hokage. Why has no one noticed this organization before? Hatake Sakumo thought bitterly. To have so many powerful members. And to remain hidden so deeply. What were they planning? Stop. Konoha truly means no harm, Hatake Sakumo pleaded while still fighting. Perhaps we can talk this over. Since the situation was still unclear, it was best not to act rashly. No harm. Pain sneered. You send so many people to block me, yet claim no harm. It seems Konoha wants to declare war on Akatsuki. In that case. Pain's eyes narrowed. Let me test Konoha's resolve. Not good. Hatake Sakumo recalled the strange scene from earlier, no chakra fluctuations, yet the Manjiki user was instantly blasted away, causing massive destruction in the area. That was likely the Rinnegan's ability. Sure enough. Shin. R.A. Pain stared at the people before him, enunciating each syllable. 10. Everyone, evade! Hatake Sakumo shouted in panic. Get out of the way! But just as Pain was about to utter the final syllable. Pain, what's going on here? A familiar voice rang out. Achoo! Achoo! Dans rubbed his nose irritably as he glared at the forest ahead. How much longer do I have to wait? What were the root operatives inside doing? Why were they taking so long? Karasu, Dans called impatiently. Lord Dans. A masked root operative stepped forward. Go in and see what's happening, Dans ordered, frowning. And what are Mushi and the others doing? Yes. Chapter 168, Loyalty and Righteousness, Uzumaki Jun. Jun. Pain frowned as he looked at the person who called out to him. After a moment of thought, he descended and walked over to stand opposite him, saying calmly, What is it? Seeing this scene, everyone except the Anbu ninja breathed a sigh of relief. Especially since the person before them was the current ally of Konoha, the daimyo of Ozushiagakuer, known throughout the shinobi world for his benevolence Uzumaki Jun, who had held back Tsunagakuer and Omegakure for them. What's going on here? Uzumaki Jun asked curiously. Why are you fighting Konoha? Sigh, it's really troublesome trying to whitewash the Akatsuki organization. Uchiha Shin has been found, Pain said indifferently. But he escaped. Uchiha Shin? The traitor from your organization. Uzumaki Jun frowned. How did he escape? With your strength, it shouldn't have. However, before Jun could finish speaking, he followed Pain's gaze toward the Konoha ninja. Hatake Sakumo and the other Konoha ninja felt awkward as Jun and Pain both stared at them. It really was because of them. Otherwise, the Rinnegan user would have definitely captured the target. But since it was the village's decision, they had no choice but to comply. After all, they were Konoha shinobi. So it really was Konoha. Uzumaki Jun said in surprise. At first, I thought someone was framing Konoha, but now. He rubbed his chin, narrowing his eyes at the Konoha ninja. It seems Uchiha Shin wasn't lying after all. Hatake Sakumo knew they couldn't let this continue. Without knowing the full story, these two were already pinning the blame on Konoha. Even though Konoha had indeed sent people to assist the Manjiki user, but he might not necessarily be from Konoha. Maybe he was just an ally of Konoha, cough. No, Konoha didn't know any Manjiki users at all. Sorry, Hatake Sakumo stepped forward helplessly. We don't know who that Manjiki user is either. If they really admitted it was Konoha, the village would be finished. Humph. Pain sneered coldly. Hypocrites. You sent people to help him, and now you claim you don't know him? Even though this was his own scheme, but who knew? Only Zetsu and he were aware of it. You don't know him, yet you helped him. Uzumaki Jun said in shock, sighing. Truly, the friends of the shinobi world. Every clan Konoha had helped had ended up destroyed. Thankfully, Uchiha Shin was just his alias. Otherwise, Uzushiagakuer would probably be done for too. Hearing Jun's words, the Konoha ninjas' faces turned green. They had no idea what was going on. They had just followed the Anbu's lead and stepped in to help. Originally, they wanted to find out who that Manjiki user was, but damn it, he just ran away on his own. They were just as confused. Was that Manjiki user really Konoha's secret weapon? Did he run away to avoid being discovered? But by tomorrow, the entire shinobi world would know Konoha had a Manjiki user. What was the point of hiding now? We really don't know if that Manjiki user is from Konoha, Hatake Sakumo sighed helplessly. As for why he escaped, it was just an accident. An accident? Pain narrowed his eyes at the Konoha Anbu, sneering. Humph. Trying to distance themselves from Uchiha Shin? Not a chance. Otherwise, all his efforts would be wasted. In that case, Pain raised his right hand and said coldly, I'll let you experience an accident too. Shinra. Before Pain could finish, Uzumaki Jun grabbed his arm and said helplessly, don't be impulsive. Maybe it really was an accident. Right now, Uzushiagakuer and Konoha are allies. I can't just stand by and watch Konoha ninja be killed in front of me. The Konoha ninja had already braced themselves to dodge when they saw the Rinnegan user preparing to unleash a powerful technique. But then, seeing Pain being stopped by Lord Jun, they sighed in relief. After all, those legendary eyes were terrifying. The daimyo of Uzumaki was standing up to the Rinnegan for their sake. The Konoha ninja were deeply moved. Truly, the friendship passed down through generations between our villages. Indeed. The Uzumaki clan were good people. They hadn't changed. It was Konoha that had changed. Uzumaki Jun glanced subtly at the Konoha ninja and was satisfied to see their grateful expressions. As for Hitaki Sakumo and the Root ninja, one was frowning, while the others wore masks and showed no reaction. He sighed inwardly. He understood the Root ninja's lack of response. They were all fanatics. What else could you expect? As for Hitaki Sakumo, truly, the white fang of Konoha. His resolve was unshakable. It seemed he needed to push a little harder. Let's go to Konoha and ask what's really going on, Uzumaki Jun sighed. This might just be someone else's scheme. An attempt to provoke conflict between you. We can't let them succeed. Right, Hitaki Sakumo quickly pushed aside his wandering thoughts. The priority now was to resolve the current situation, or Konoha might gain another formidable enemy. You can come with us to Konoha. The Hokage will definitely give you an answer. They were lacking information. He still had no idea what the Hokage was planning. For now, he'd take them to Konoha and let the higher UPS handle it. Humph, Pain scoffed. Trying to lure me to Konoha so you can ambush me. There was no way he'd go to Konoha. What if his real body was exposed? Hitaki Sakumo averted his gaze and laughed awkwardly. How could that be? Trust us. Konoha would never do such a thing. Though it was possible if that Mangeki user really was from Konoha. But that wasn't something to say out loud. Konoha was righteous. That was the principle passed down by the first Hokage. Don't worry, Konoha would never betray its friends, Hitaki Sakumo declared righteously. With your strength, even if Konoha tried anything, it would only bring devastating losses to the village. So there's no need to worry about Konoha doing such things. The Rinnegan. So many in the village coveted it. Humph, Pain sneered at Hitaki Sakumo but said nothing more. Going to Konoha was out of the question. Only Uzumaki Jun, as an ally, could enter Konoha during wartime. Anyone else would be taken in for interrogation. So. Forget it, Uzumaki Jun sighed helplessly. I'll go to Konoha and ask myself. I'll let you know what I find out. Hitaki Sakumo opened his mouth to say something but ultimately sighed and looked at Pain. This was the best solution for now. After all, the Akatsuki had no reason to trust Konoha. Why would they go alone? What if something happened? Pain pondered for a moment, then stared at Uzumaki Jun and nodded. Fine. Why is it taking so long? Danzo frowned as he stared at the forest. Toru had been gone for a long time. Why hadn't he returned yet? Was there really danger inside? His eyes narrowed, and he was about to order someone to call for reinforcements from Konoha when Lord Danzo. Toru returned, kneeling respectfully. We searched thoroughly but found no one. Not even Mushi. Danzo's frown deepened. What's going on? He was called out here only to be left waiting while Mushi disappeared? What was that insect planning? Danzo's gaze turned icy as he glared at Toru. Did you find anything unusual? Nothing, Toru shook his head. Toru and Suzume checked. There's nothing out of the ordinary. It was just a forest. Nothing else. In that case, return to the village. Danzo snapped angrily. I'll find out where Mushi has gone. Did they think they could deceive their superior and get away with it? Did they forget he was the darkness of shinobi? Chapter 169, No, the airship is ours. Lord Jun, Hitaki Sakumo said as he saw the village of Konoha before him, feeling relieved inside. He had originally planned to ask the ANBU what exactly was going on, but they completely ignored him and simply left. It seemed they really were on a secret mission. They didn't even give face to him, the future ANBU captain. That meant only the Hokage could have given such an order. But what exactly was the Hokage trying to do? Please wait here for a moment, Hitaki Sakumo said helplessly. I will go and report to the Hokage. Although the daimyo of Uzumaki was now an ally of Konoha, the proper formalities still had to be followed. Uzumaki Jun nodded indifferently. Aside from the daimyo of the 5 great nations, basically anyone who wanted to meet the Hokage of Konoha needed to be announced first. Though he felt a little displeased no matter what, he was still the daimyo of a nation. Uzumaki is still too weak. Hokage-sama, Hitaki Sakumo entered the Hokage's office and said respectfully. Mission completed. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of smoke and asked, what brings you back to the village? If he remembered correctly, the war deployment should have been arranged long ago. Hitaki Sakumo was supposed to head straight to the battlefield in the Land of Rain after completing his mission, as the situation there wasn't very optimistic. And why hadn't Uzushiagakure fought against Tsunagakure and Omegakure? According to intelligence reports from spies below, the two sides had been peaceful for many days, with no conflicts breaking out. Uzushiagakure just occasionally sent their ninjas out for drills. But this wasn't bad either. Once Konoha resolved the battlefields against Iwagakure and Kumagakure, they could join forces with Uzushiagakure to deal with Tsunagakure and Omegakure. So, it was fine that they hadn't fought. Right now, Uzushiagakure just needed to stall them and prevent them from causing trouble. The Sky Ninja village has been destroyed, Hitaki Sakumo said after a moment of thought, but there were some problems. What problems? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. Heavy losses. There weren't any losses, but Hitaki Sakumo said, we encountered. He decided to explain the situation clearly first and see if the Hokage really had some secret mission. Or, who was that Manjiki user? The Manjiki and the Rin-Egan. Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned when he heard Hitaki Sakumo's words. I didn't send any ANBU for support. However, Hitaki Sakumo looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen with suspicion. If it wasn't the Hokage's order, then who could command the ANBU? It seems someone is framing Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and took a puff of smoke. Those ANBU weren't sent by me. I'll arrange for someone to investigate. Wait, no. He suddenly remembered that a group of ANBU had left the village without registration. His expression immediately sharpened. I think I know what's going on. What exactly was Danzo trying to do? Who was that Manjiki user? Could it really be from the Uchiha clan? If so, what were Danzo and the Uchiha plotting? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and looked at Hitaki Sakumo. You don't need to worry about this. I'll handle it. Now, please bring in the daimyo of Uzushiagakure. The Akatsuki. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed as he smoked. Why had such an organization suddenly appeared in the ninja world? They had hidden deeply for so many years that even the first Hokage and his teacher hadn't noticed. He had heard there was a strong figure from the same era as the first Hokage who had fought against him. Who could it be? What exactly do they want? Sarutobi Hiruzen leaned back in his chair and muttered. Is it really for the peace of the ninja world? Hokage-sama, Hitaki Sakumo led Uzumaki Jun into the room and said respectfully. Uzumaki Jun walked in slowly and smiled at Sarutobi Hiruzen, nodding slightly. Hokage. They were of the same rank now, so there was no need to lower his status. Besides, once things blew up, the Hokage in front of him would probably want to kill him. What a heroic young man, Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't mind Uzumaki Jun's form of address and said with emotion. I've always wanted to meet the future god of shinobi, a member of Lady Mito's clan, but I never had the time. Indeed. Sarutobi Hiruzen showed a nostalgic expression. Just like the first Hokage. You flatter me, Uzumaki Jun smiled. I dare not compare myself to the first Hokage. These words were meant to set up Uzushiagakure. How many people in the ninja world wanted to see another god of shinobi appear? Even when Omegakure produced a half-god, they were relentlessly suppressed. Otherwise, why would the Land of Rain be so poor and constantly embroiled in war? This time, they even made it a battlefield. This old man, hey. Haha, it's fine, Sarutobi Hiruzen gave a warm, kind smile. I'm sure the first Hokage would be very happy to see someone in the ninja world who shares his ideals. Ha, Uzumaki Jun smiled and nodded, saying nothing. As for sharing the same ideals, who would believe that? This old man was probably thinking about how to kill him right now, especially because of those 500 million in the Jutsu scrolls. Did they really think he was just some clueless kid? Seeing that the young man wasn't excited by his praise, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed inwardly. As expected of someone who became a Kage at this age, his temperament didn't match his age at all. So, how do you know the Akatsuki? Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze sharpened as he asked seriously. What is their goal? Better to get straight to the point. It all started with the appearance of the airship in Uzushiagakure. Uzumaki Jun ignored Sarutobi Hiruzen's imposing aura. He had even faced Madara. Why would he be afraid of the strongest Hokage? The Akatsuki is an organization that loves peace and contributes to the peace of the ninja world. Damn it! Danzo returned to the village with a dark expression, accompanied by his subordinates. He had schemed across the ninja world, earning the title of the Darkness of Shinobi, yet he had been deceived by his own subordinate. What exactly was going on? Toru, go back and capture Mushi, Danzo said to Toru beside him. Ask him what he's trying to do. Was it his own doing, or was someone in the village trying to move against him? At that moment, whoosh! Lord Danzo, a masked ninja appeared before Danzo and said, "The Hokage wishes to see you." Hiruzen. Danzo was taken aback and frowned in thought. What does he want to see me for at this time? Was it because of problems in the war? Or was this Hiruzen's way of messing with him? Maybe reminding him not to get too close to the Uchiha clan? But Danzo believed in his old friend. He wouldn't truly act against him after all, they had decades of friendship. So, let's go, Danzo said calmly. He would see what Hiruzen wanted with him. Chapter 170, The airship was purchased. The Akatsuki is an organization that strives for peace. Since its founding, it has been dedicated to the noble cause of maintaining world peace, upholding the banner of peace, development, cooperation, and shared victory, and steadfastly safeguarding world peace while promoting common development. At the same time, it advocates the virtue of benevolence, a heart of love, a mind of universal compassion, and the breadth of great love. It strives to create a new era of peace, harmony, and prosperity for the shinobi world, working together to build a peaceful and bright future. Uzumaki Jun glanced helplessly at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was nodding along as he listened. He had been talking for so long, yet no one had brought him a cup of tea. Licking his dry lips, he continued, the goal of the Akatsuki is to bring true peace to this chaotic shinobi world and achieve harmony between ordinary people and shinobi. The service in Konoha really isn't up to par. And Uzumaki, as a friend of Konoha, has always adhered to the ideals of the first Hokage. We are also a righteous force committed to maintaining world peace and stability. Sarutobi Hiruzen stared at Uzumaki Jun in astonishment, amazed at how much he had managed to boast in one breath. He sighed and said, I never imagined there was an organization in the shinobi world so devoted to peace. If the first Hokage knew, he would surely be overjoyed. Exactly. Uzumaki, like the Akatsuki, is so great, Uzumaki Jun said solemnly. Stay true to the original intent, and the end will follow. Meanwhile, Sarutobi Hiruzen completely ignored Uzumaki Jun's words and said regretfully, so your airship was purchased from the Akatsuki. Sigh, I thought this was our allies' technology. It seems Konoha really will have to spend money to buy it now. Yes, Uzumaki Jun replied, narrowing his eyes slightly with a smile. The current system in Uzumaki is based on the Akatsuki's vision of a harmonious society. That's why Uzumaki has a cooperative relationship with the Akatsuki, and this airship is the result of years of research and development by the Akatsuki, consuming vast amounts of manpower and resources. A harmonious society. Sarutobi Hiruzen murmured, recalling how Uzumaki had restructured its government, abandoning the first Hokage's great policy of one nation, one village. They elevated the status of civilians while lowering that of shinobi and abolished the mission-based system of shinobi villages. Uzumaki must be doing very well now, Sarutobi Hiruzen remarked with a sigh. In such an environment, the lives of civilians must be very happy. That's what Uzumaki thought at first too, Uzumaki Jun said with a bitter smile, shaking his head helplessly. But this world is ultimately a shinobi's world. So, stop eyeing Uzumaki. It's not as great as you think. Without the income from shinobi missions, Uzumaki's finances are strained. Coupled with the elevated treatment of civilians, the country's budget. Uzumaki Jun sighed and looked at Konoha. Ah, that's why Uzumaki had to charge for this support mission. Otherwise, the country might have. Hearing this, Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded in satisfaction. It seemed the first Hokage's policies were indeed correct. Shinobi only have value when they do shinobi work. Without missions, Uzumaki is doomed. Just like the perpetually impoverished Tsunagaku, which relied on mission income to sustain the village but still had to beg the Land of Wind's daimyo for funds, earning the daimyo's disdain. Meanwhile, Konoha, the top-ranked shinobi village in mission acceptance and completion rates, didn't need financial support from the Land of Fire. In fact, it even contributed significantly to the Land of Fire's revenue, earning the daimyo's favor. So, Uzushiagakuer will eventually revert to the old ways. Don't be troubled, Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. The civilians will remember Uzushiagakuer's kindness. But this world is ultimately a shinobi's world. Now, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally relaxed. Even if Uzushiagakuer had produced a god of shinobi, without a shinobi village system, it posed no threat to Konoha's position as the dominant power in the shinobi world. In that case, how much does one airship cost? Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and asked. Konoha would like to purchase a few businesses here. Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes and smiled. One airship costs 1 billion ryo. Uzushiagakuer only bought one from the Akatsuki. The rest were borrowed. He lowered his head slightly, adopting a regretful tone. They're just too expensive. I heard the production process is extremely complicated. Back then, Uzushiagakuer even asked if they could sell the manufacturing method, but they refused. 1 billion. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. That price was indeed steep. With the war ongoing, Konoha needed vast sums for shinobi compensation, mission rewards, equipment, and supplies. Can't it be cheaper? Sarutobi Hiruzen clasped his hands together and asked. If Konoha buys 5 at once, is there a discount? 5. A gleam flashed in Uzumaki Jun's eyes. Konoha really was rich. 5 would be 5 billion ryo. The arms business really was profitable. It seemed the plan to sell airships to other villages needed to be accelerated. He'd have Uzushiagakuer prepare to manufacture low-spec airships as soon as he returned, ensuring simultaneous delivery to all 5 great shinobi villages. That way, their power would remain balanced. No discount, Uzumaki Jun said regretfully. Uzushiagakuer tried bargaining back then, but the Akatsuki refused. They said the production cost was just too high. In that case, Sarutobi Hiruzen pondered. Konoha's current available funds were only about 5 billion ryo. Spending it all wouldn't immediately destabilize the village, but if unexpected expenses arose, finances might become tight. That would be troublesome. So, then Konoha will purchase 3 airships, Sarutobi Hiruzen said, taking a drag from his pipe. I hope they can be delivered as soon as possible. Better to be cautious. This way, Konoha could react to any unexpected developments. Once Konoha obtained the airships, they could. Sarutobi Hiruzen's gaze sharpened. Send a big gift to Uegakuer. Not 5? Uzumaki Jun sighed inwardly but nodded expressionlessly. I'll inform the Akatsuki. With the business discussion concluded, the next step was digging a pit ahem dealing with the matter between Konoha and the Akatsuki. That Uchiha Shin is Konoha's. Uzumaki Jun frowned. No matter what, his Manjiki Sharingan caused significant losses to the Akatsuki. Pain won't let him go. If Konoha refuses to hand him over, then the matter of the Manjiki. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed, setting down his pipe. So far, Konoha hasn't found any leads about him. But knock knock. Before Sarutobi Hiruzen could finish, the door to the Hokage's office was knocked open. Lord Dan's has arrived. Chapter 171, The Land of Whirlpools has always been committed to fighting crime. That is to say, you were tricked out of the village by your own subordinate. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned as he looked at his old friend, suspicion evident in his voice. You never actually ordered them to provide support. No matter how you looked at it, this sounded like a lie. Was it because there were outsiders here, and since Uchiha Shin was his man, he was making up this excuse? Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Uzumaki Jun, who stood nearby with a shocked expression, and sighed inwardly. He had originally kept Jun here to distance Konoha from the Manjiki Sharingan incident, but now it still seemed somewhat inappropriate. No, I am not lying to you. Dans, however, spoke with a serious expression. I have already ordered my subordinates to interrogate them. We should have answers soon. He had full confidence in Root's interrogation methods. The real question was, who was trying to frame him, the darkness of the shinobi world? To think that just after he left the village briefly, someone had already set him up with such a serious accusation. If this wasn't handled properly, he might have to sacrifice himself for Konoha's sake. The only person with the authority to mobilize Root members besides himself was... well, there was no one else. Hiruzen, rest assured, Dan said with a stern expression. I will get to the bottom of this. No matter who it is, if they harm the village, I will make them pay. This is a very serious matter, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed as he took a puff of his pipe. Even though I believe you, the land of whirlpools and the Akatsuki might not. So, if this wasn't handled properly, Konoha might provoke an extremely powerful organization. According to the intelligence gathered, aside from Uchiha Shin, there were already 3 known members, one who could use space-time ninjutsu, one with the legendary Rinnegan, and another who had fought against the first Hokage. No matter how you looked at it, this organization was extremely dangerous. And if they had even more hidden members, even if Konoha could resist them, the losses would be devastating. Right now, they were still in the middle of a war. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed deeply and said gravely, no matter what, you must provide an explanation. And also, there are spies within the village. This must be resolved immediately. We need to find out which village's spies they are. Konoha's reputation could not afford to be tarnished in the slightest. I will handle it, Dan's eyes sharpened. Don't worry. I will make the person who played me pay the price. It seemed he would have to impose stricter restrictions on root members. Otherwise, if something like this happened again, his dear old friend might really have to sacrifice him with tears in his eyes. You handle it, Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Right now, we must first clarify the situation. Knock knock. Yet again, before Sarutobi Hiruzen could finish speaking, the Hokage's office door was knocked. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face darkened. Enter. What was going on today? Why did someone keep knocking just as he was getting to the important part? Lord Dan's, Lord Hokage, a masked man entered and respectfully handed over a document. The investigation is complete. Good, you may leave, Dan's nodded, accepting the file without expression. Sarutobi Hiruzen gave the departing root member a displeased look and sighed before turning to Dan's. What did you find? Uzumaki Jun also curiously leaned in. He wanted to see what Root had uncovered. After all, Zetsu's disguise skills were the best in the shinobi world. Mushi said he never sent anyone to notify me, Dan's frowned as he scanned the document before handing it over. After interrogation, Mushi was not lying, nor was he under genjutsu. So what exactly was going on here? This. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned as he carefully read the document. Did you try all interrogation methods? Yes, Dan's nodded. Every method Root has was used, but nothing was found. Then, Sarutobi Hiruzen set the document down and muttered, who could it be? Someone had effortlessly tricked Dan's out of the village and even commanded Root members. To think Konoha had been infiltrated without anyone noticing a single trace. What were ANBU, Root, and the police force even doing? Perhaps it was someone from Uchiha Shin's side. Uzumaki Jun stroked his chin thoughtfully. They disguised themselves to deceive Dan's into leaving, then used Dan's identity to command Root members. He had to give them a lead. Otherwise, who knew what wild theories they might come up with? Possible. Dan's gave Uzumaki Jun a surprised look. He hadn't expected Jun to help him out. He nodded at Sarutobi Hiruzen. According to the Root members who went out, it seems someone disguised as me to give them the mission. But what kind of transformation technique could fool everyone? Sarutobi Hiruzen still found it hard to believe. After all, Root had Hyuga members. If it was a disguise, how could the Root members not realize their boss was fake? He sighed. It seems the village is not as peaceful as we thought. It's the Manjiki, after all, Uzumaki Jun said helplessly. I don't know much about it. But according to Pain, when Uchiha Shin joined Akatsuki, he claimed to be from Konoha. Stop talking. Because of that one sentence, Konoha now had to fight 1 against 4. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Dan's both glared darkly at Uzumaki Jun. Their first thought now was to find out who this Uchiha Shin really was and why he was framing Konoha. After the first Hokage and Uchiha Madara founded Konoha together, the Uchiha clan became the village's police force. There were no other Uchiha outside of Konoha in the shinobi world. So, it seems this Uchiha Shin is backed by a powerful organization, Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and sighed helplessly. Does Akatsuki have any information on him? To infiltrate Konoha undetected and deceive Dan's with a disguise, this was definitely not something one person could accomplish. Ah. Oh. Uzumaki Jun nodded, then shook his head. No, we only know he's from Konoha. A backing organization. He hadn't thought of that before. If he had known earlier, why would he have gone through so much trouble? All he needed to do was create another organization. Have Akatsuki play the righteous side and Uchiha Shin the villain. Then, the righteous side could fight the evil side, and he wouldn't have to go through the hassle of separating the two identities. Wasn't it just a matter of changing uniforms and picking a new name? I'll report the situation to Pain, Uzumaki Jun said solemnly, looking at Dan's and Sarutobi Hiruzen. I never expected such a dangerous organization to appear in the shinobi world. What exactly are they planning? For now, he had to sever the connection between Uchiha Shin and Akatsuki. Thank you, Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe. Konoha will also intensify its investigation. No matter what, Konoha, like Akatsuki, desires peace in the shinobi world. Don't worry. The land of whirlpools has always been committed to fighting crime. We will show no mercy to any organization that threatens the shinobi world, Uzumaki Jun declared righteously. Punishing evil and maintaining stability in the shinobi world has always been the duty of the land of whirlpools. So, leave the dark forces to the land of whirlpools and Akatsuki. Chapter 172, Establishing a Branch Company. After leaving the Hokage building, Uzumaki Jun fell into deep thought. He knew that Sarutobi Hiruzen and Danzo wouldn't easily believe his words, so his next task was to fill Uchiha Shin's evil organization with members. This way, it would become a real, large-scale organization that could rival the Akatsuki. Perhaps in the future, he and the Akatsuki might even join forces to lead the shinobi world in attacking Uchiha Shin's organization. This was practically playing both sides. Just thinking about it was exciting. But what should he name it? It seems I'll have to make the Akatsuki establish a branch company, Uzumaki Jun muttered, rubbing his chin. This organization will be used to take the blame. After returning, he would have the Kamaizuru clan and the Shinoik clan dye their hair. No matter what, they couldn't be discovered for now. At the very least, they had to wait until Zetsu found a replacement for Madara. And only then would Konoha shift its focus from the Akatsuki to this new organization. Since it was essentially his own organization anyway, when the time came, Uzushiagakuer could just intensify its crackdown on the evil group. As Uzumaki Jun pondered how to create this new organization, a Konoha appeared before him and said respectfully, Lord Jun, Lady Mito requests your presence. Hiruzen, do you really believe that brat's words? Danzo frowned. No matter how you look at it, this matter is related to them. Sigh, what else can we do now? Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and said helplessly, Uzushiagakuer is currently Konoha's ally, while the Akatsuki and Uchiha Shin are enemies. Right now, we don't know anything. Only by investigating who this Uchiha Shin really is can we restore Konoha's reputation. But Danzo's face darkened. Right now, the village is spreading tales of Uzushiagakuer's righteousness. No matter how you look at it, this is Uzushiagakuer's scheme. Are we just going to let it go? This might be someone else's attempt to destroy the relationship between Konoha and Uzushiagakuer, Hiruzen sighed. Until things become clear, Konoha must not act recklessly. Besides, Konoha still needed Uzushiagakuer to fend off Sunanin and Rain-nin. Recall the Uchiha clan members on missions, Hiruzen set down his pipe and stood up, hands behind his back. Right now, the entire shinobi world is watching the Uchiha clan. It's not safe for them outside the village. Hearing this, Danzo's pupils shrank in shock. You mean to? This is all for Konoha, Hiruzen said gloomily. You know the original plan was to wipe out a few minor villages to intimidate the others, but now the entire shinobi world is watching Konoha. Knock knock. Enter. Hiruzen snapped irritably. Why did someone always knock just as he was getting to the important part? He glared at the envoy who entered. What is it? The Uzushio ambassador has been summoned by Lady Mito, the envoy reported respectfully. Lady Mito. Hiruzen and Danzo both frowned. What could she want? Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Jun looked at the increasingly frail Uzumaki Mito and sighed inwardly, forcing a smile. What did you call me for? Ah, Jun, Uzumaki Mito sat up with difficulty, leaning against thick cushions, and said nostalgically, you've grown so much in these past few years. Grandma Mito still looks as spirited as ever, Jun smiled. Not old at all. No, no, Mito shook her head with a chuckle. I don't have many years left. Her eyes grew distant. Hashirama, I'll be seeing you soon. Uzumaki Jun silently watched her, waiting for her to refocus. No matter what, Uzushiagaku owed her for those sealing techniques, not to mention the scrolls of Hashirama and Tobirama's jutsu. Hiruzen wasn't generous enough to hand those over on his own. This must have been Mito's doing. I called you here because I need your help with something, Mito said, her eyes narrowing sadly. I wronged her. What is it? June asked curiously. Had he misheard, or had her voice carried grief and regret just now? Please. An airship. Sandame Kazekage, looking at the intel in his hands, muttered in amazement. This is truly a formidable tool. Whether for transporting supplies, people, or surprise attacks, these airships had immense strategic value. After a moment of thought, he called out, someone. Lord Kazekage, an enbu appeared and bowed. Your orders. Deliver this letter to the Uzushio ambassador, the Kazekage said coldly. And observe what the Uzunin are up to. Suna wanted airships too. But they had no money. What could they do? Even though his magnet release could earn money, the village still didn't have enough funds to buy airships. So. I hope that Brad agrees, the Kazekage smirked. Otherwise, don't blame Suna for breaking our agreement. After leaving the Senju residence, Uzumaki Jun fell into silence, his eyes icy as he glanced at the Hokage building. He never expected. He truly never expected that Hiruzen would go this far for a Jinchuriki. If Hashirama were ever resurrected via Edo Tensei, how would the Sandame Hokage face the Shadame? Giving Hashirama a daughter out of nowhere, Hashirama would beat him to death. Though in the end, Danzo would probably take the blame again. That old monkey is digging his own grave, Jun sneered. No clan would tolerate this. What surprised him most was that Mito had agreed. It seems that in Mito's heart, the village Hashirama built is more important than anything else. Since he had promised Mito to take care of her, then consider it respecting the elderly and caring for the young, Jun sighed. We'll settle this debt with Konoha later. In the sky, an airship named Hope No. 1 slowly approached Uzushiagaku. On the deck. Mom, Mom! A blue-haired little girl ran around excitedly before stopping beside a woman. Will we get to live in a big house and eat delicious candy when we reach Uzushiagaku? Of course, the mother smiled, patting the girl's head. Xiaonan won't have to suffer from cold or hunger anymore, and you'll even get to go to school. But her eyes were still filled with worry. After all, they were heading to a completely unfamiliar place. She couldn't just blindly trust the words of that shinobi. No matter what. Xiaonan, you must be happy, the mother knelt down, looking into her daughter's eyes seriously. Promise me you'll be happy. Xiaonan nodded with a bright smile. I'll be happy with Mom. Hearing this, the mother smiled faintly. In the land of rain, their fate would have been. So why not embrace this new life with hope? Maybe what they said was true. But the mother's gaze hardened as she smiled at her daughter. No matter what, she wouldn't let Xiaonan get hurt. Characters in this chapter: Uzumaki Jun, Sarutobi Hiruzen, Danzo, Uchiha Shin, Uzumaki Mito, Sandame Kazekage, Konan, Zetsu, Kamaizuru Clan, Shinoite Clan, Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama, Uchiha Clan, Akatsuki, Tsunagaku, Omegakure, Konohagaku, Uzushiagaku, White Zetsu. Chapter 173, The Political System of Uzushiagaku. Uzushiagaku. Not long ago, news arrived from below that the airship had reached the waters of Uzushiagaku and was about to arrive. So, today, most of the high-ranking officials of Uzushiagaku gathered at the dock where the airship would land. This dock was specially built, as after the war ended and the shinobi world stabilized, the airship would transition from military to civilian use. Therefore, there was no need to waste land within Uzushiagaku. Currently, no shinobi village or nation would allow airships from other villages to freely enter their territory, which was somewhat regrettable. Thus, for now, the airship could only enter other nations during special circumstances. The rest of the time, it was used like an ordinary ship for Gato's cargo transport. Jun, what brings you here today? The village chief, seeing Uzumaki Jun arrive, immediately showed a happy expression. Over the past few years, he had witnessed the changes in Uzushiagaku. Although the status of the Uzumaki clan had diminished somewhat, Uzumaki was truly growing stronger and wealthier, step by step. The promises Jun had made back then were slowly being fulfilled, one by one, in the eyes of the older generation. I was too busy last time and couldn't come. Since I'm in the country now, I decided to stop by, Uzumaki Jun said with a smile. He hadn't told anyone about what happened in Konoha. If the clan head and elders found out, they would undoubtedly feel uncomfortable. After all, bloodline was extremely important to any clan, especially in the shinobi world, where strength relied on bloodline limits. After all, no matter what, they may become citizens of Uzumaki in the future. Having the leader of a nation personally welcome them, combined with Uzumaki's sugar-coated bullets, he was confident these disaster-stricken civilians would feel grateful. That's true. The clan head nodded and laughed. They will all be citizens of Uzumaki in the future. When he first became the head of the Uzumaki clan, he had never imagined Uzumaki becoming the sixth great nation. He only wanted to rely on Konoha, one of the 5 great shinobi villages, to survive the turbulent times. In the end, he never expected that even the agreement left by Lord Hashirama would be betrayed. How laughable! But now, he believed Uzumaki would succeed. It would surely become a powerful nation in the shinobi world. His only concern was the growth of the younger generation. After all, Uzumaki still had too few shinobi. Even with Jun, a cage-level figure, supporting them, he was still just one person. Sigh. The clan head sighed with emotion. We still have to hold on for a few more years. Uzumaki Jun paid no attention to the clan head's lament. The strength of a nation did not rely solely on the power of one individual. Of course, in a technologically advanced world, this might be possible, as the emergence of a single technological advancement could benefit countless people. But in this well-established shinobi world, technological development couldn't catch up overnight. For now, the priority was to make Uzumaki a populous nation. As the saying goes, many hands make light work. Perhaps among these people, 1 or 2 might emerge as talents who could shape Uzumaki's future. They're here, Uzumaki Jun murmured with a smile as he looked up at the sky. Uzumaki has been reached. Please disembark in an orderly manner, a Uzunin shouted to the refugees still standing quietly on the deck. Now, please disembark one by one. Seeing the refugees' dazed expressions, the Uzunin were already familiar with this scene. When the first batch of refugees arrived in Uzumaki, hadn't they been the same? And now, those refugees had already become citizens of Uzumaki. If someone said, "Hey, aren't you a citizen of X nation?" they would angrily roll up their sleeves and fight. Even their children were taught, "Child, you are a citizen of Uzumaki. Don't embarrass our nation. Study hard." This was all thanks to Lord Jun's efforts. Everyone was gradually integrating into Uzumaki. Thus, the Uzunin believed it wouldn't be long before these refugees, too, became citizens of Uzumaki. Take your time. Everyone, slow down, the Uzunin said with a smile. Hold on to your children. There's no rush. Hearing this, the previously flustered refugees began to slow their steps, disembarking in an orderly manner under the Uzunin's guidance. Over the past few days on the airship, they had been filled with anxiety and confusion, fearing what Uzumaki might. After all, how had they come here? They had been forced onto the airship. So, some of them didn't believe the Uzunin's promises of a happy life. Some even feared their kindness, worried they were being taken away for horrific experiments. But now, they had finally arrived in Uzumaki. Clan head, we can't go on like this, Senju Shikuma said to the Senju clan head, his face filled with worry. Over the past few days, defending against the Kumonin has cost too many lives among our clansmen. He didn't understand why the clan head had brought the entire Senju clan to the battlefield. Even if it was to atone for the clan's sins, this wasn't the way. Aside from Princess Tsunade and Noeki, this was the entirety of the Senju clan. It's not enough. The Senju clan head coldly stared at the battlefield, his voice calm. It's still not enough. But his tightly clenched fists betrayed his inner turmoil. The Senju clan is one of the 2 founding clans of Konoha. We are Konoha's Senju. Now, it's still not enough. He couldn't let the Senju clan be disgraced. Even if it meant. Our Senju clan is Konoha's clan. The Senju clan head sighed and murmured to Senju Shikuma, let it end with my generation. Uzumaki Jun watched as the refugees disembarked in an orderly manner under the Uzunin's arrangements and nodded in satisfaction. At least there were no stampedes. With a smile, he led the clan head toward the Uzunin. At that moment, the Uzunin in charge of the handover approached and respectfully said, "Lord Jun, clan head." He then handed the compiled list of refugees to Uzumaki Jun with both hands. "You've worked hard," Uzumaki Jun said with a nod and a smile. "Rest for 2 days before returning." There was no hurry. By the time they returned, they could bring back the next batch of refugees. It was no trouble, the Uzunin saluted, his expression serious. It was all in service of the people. It seemed Kamaki and Kai had trained them well. Their political awareness was quite high. Hearing this, Uzumaki Jun returned the salute, equally serious. In service of the people. He then dismissed the Uzunin to rest. After all, the battlefield wouldn't miss a few shadow clones. Now then. Seeing the handover completed, Uzumaki Jun nodded and led the elders forward. Next, it was time for him to, well, comfort the refugees and bring them hope. Gazing at the refugees below, their faces filled with confusion, fear, and numbness, Uzumaki Jun sighed inwardly. War was unavoidable for now. Even Uzushiagakuer would eventually be dragged into it. So, his only hope now was to protect Uzushiagakuer, to watch it grow stronger bit by bit, ensuring it wouldn't be destroyed by the chaotic times. To see this political system bring true peace to the turbulent shinobi world. Chapter 174, The Political System of the Land of Whirlpools, 2. Only a little over 400 refugees this time, Uzumaki Jun sighed as he looked at the list in his hands. Nearly half a month had passed, and only this many people had been gathered. It seemed the population of the Land of Rain was truly too small. After his speech, he had left, as the remaining tasks belonged to the various departments. And most of them are in a state where one person is enough to feed the whole family. Of course, there were also a few single-parent families. This was the norm during war, especially in a war-torn country like the Land of Rain. It was nearly impossible for an entire family to survive unharmed. Hunger, cold, and ninja all were terrifying threats that could take their lives. This name? Uzumaki Jun stared at a name on the list and murmured, Konan. This was the richest woman in the ninja world. If the explosive tags in the future weren't bought using Kakuzu's funds, then Konan could truly rank among the top 10 wealthiest people in the ninja world. After all, she was the woman who could produce 600 billion explosive tags in one go. I wonder if she made them herself or bought them, Uzumaki Jun muttered, rubbing his chin. If she made them herself, then the Land of Whirlpools wouldn't need to purchase explosive tags from other villages in the future. After all, explosive tags from the Hidden Ember village were quite expensive, and it was said that this village had been crippled by Konoha. That meant the price of explosive tags would rise again. Therefore, producing explosive tags in the Land of Whirlpools was absolutely necessary. After all, explosive tags were still very useful. It seems we arrived in the Land of Rain too early. Konan hasn't become an orphan yet. She wasn't wandering the Land of Rain with a dog named Little One. What if we bring Yahiko to the Land of Whirlpools too? Uzumaki Jun's eyes lit up. This was Team Toad. If they could get along with Nagato and Konan, then Yahiko must also be a genius. Though part of it might be due to the teachings of Jiraiya, the elite instructor of the ninja world, there was no denying their talent. If all three were recruited to the Land of Whirlpools, the country would gain 3 cage-level ninja in the future. It seems I'll have to visit the Land of Rain. Nighttime. After returning to the accommodations arranged by the Land of Whirlpools, Konan's mother smiled warmly and asked, Konan, how was it? It was fun, Konan nodded, holding a lollipop in her small hand, a sweet smile on her face. Auntie with red hair even gave me candy. Seeing her daughter's smile, Konan's mother sighed in relief. The Land of Whirlpools hadn't lied to them. They truly provided jobs and housing for refugees like them. The place where they now lived had been provided by the Land of Whirlpools. Though it wasn't large, just a single room with a bathroom, it was far more comfortable and sturdy than the broken-down wooden shack they had lived in before. After listening to Lord Jun's speech, they had followed the person in charge on a brief tour of the Land of Whirlpools factories. Only now had they returned to their assigned lodging, the place they now called home. Of course, the first month was free. After that, they would have to pay rent, but compared to the wages they would earn, the cost of housing was minimal. You should call her Auntie Fuss, Conan's mother said, gently rubbing Conan's cute little head. Mom will work hard so you can live a happy life. Conan nodded seriously. Conan will help Mom too. Then we'll both work hard, okay? Conan's mother smiled. After seeing so many job opportunities today, the one that appealed to her most was the textile factory. 8 hours of work a day, 3 meals provided, and a monthly wage of 150,000 RY. This was something she could never have imagined before. Moreover, if she had children, she could bring them to the factory. There was a daycare center nearby with teachers to take care of and teach the children, and the children could even eat with their parents in the factory. A citizen of the land of whirlpools. Conan's mother murmured, her eyes filled with determination. She would work hard and apply for citizenship in the land of whirlpools. According to what Sister Fess had said, if she became a citizen, Conan would be able to. And only citizens of the land of whirlpools could buy houses here. When they passed by the residential area earlier, she had seen those sturdy, well-built concrete houses. A deep longing arose in her heart. She had to settle down here. We can do it. Conan's mother smiled at Conan. One day, we'll obtain citizenship in the land of whirlpools. Conan nodded seriously. Mom can do it. They could do it. Conan's mother smiled as she looked out the window at the citizens of the land of whirlpools, their faces filled with happiness under the bright lights. They're so happy. They hadn't been deceived. The land of whirlpools truly was a paradise. On this day, all the refugees who had arrived from the land of rain shared the same thoughts as Conan and her mother. They stared in awe at the brightly lit land of whirlpools at night, their eyes filled with hope for the future. It was all real. Konoha. Councilman Danzo, the Uchiha clan head, frowned as he saw Danzo appear at the Uchiha compound once again. What is it? Danzo remained silent for a moment before sighing. You've heard about recent events, haven't you? The Uchiha clan head nodded. Of course he had. The entire ninja world was abuzz with rumors Konoha had sent Anbu to support the Manjiki user. Though he didn't know the details, the villagers had been looking at the Uchiha strangely lately, as if that deranged, clan-slaughtering Manjiki user was one of theirs. But even he, the Uchiha clan head, didn't know of any Uchiha who possessed the Manjiki. He had asked the clan elders, but they didn't know either. So recently, he had restrained the clan members, warning them to be cautious. That Manjiki user is not one of the Uchiha clan head said coldly. The Uchiha clan has no idea what's going on. Sigh, though I believe you, Danzo sighed, feigning regret, the rest of the village won't. Hearing Danzo's words, the Uchiha clan head frowned. He didn't know what the village's higher UPS were thinking, but looking at the Senju clan who were now sending their entire clan out on missions. The Uchiha clan must also be seen as an eyesore by the higher UPS. Don't worry. No matter what, I, Danzo, will never allow the Uchiha clan to suffer unjust accusations, Danzo quickly declared righteously, seeing the Uchiha clan head about to speak. Believe me, I will help you. I, Shimura Danzo, the darkness of the shinobi, Konoha's councilman, never lie. Then I thank Councilman Danzo, the Uchiha clan head nodded indifferently, as if Danzo's words hadn't moved him. If there's anything the Uchiha can assist with. No matter what, Danzo had helped the Uchiha clan quite a bit recently. So. The Uchiha clan never owed anyone favors. Sigh. Satisfied with the Uchiha clan's response, Danzo touched his right eye and sighed. The Hokage has ordered all Uchiha on missions outside the village to return. After all, with this situation, it's dangerous for the Uchiha to be outside. The Uchiha clan head's eyelids twitched, but in the end, he nodded. Fine. I'll order them back. It seemed the village still didn't trust the Uchiha. Rest assured. With me here, the Uchiha will be safe, Danzo nodded in satisfaction, smiling. No matter what. The Uchiha have shed blood and contributed to Konoha. Chapter 175, The Land of Whirlpools really has so many good people. Early morning. It was the second day since arriving in the Land of Whirlpools, and the first day of official work. Morning, Shin. A young man smiled as he looked at Shin, who seemed worried nearby. I joined the third construction team, mainly working on road repairs. How about you? Good morning, Toya. Hearing someone call him, Shin paused for a moment before smiling. I'm assigned to the glass workshop. Oh? That's great. Toya said in surprise. I heard you need to know how to read and do calculations to get in. Originally, he had also wanted to join the glass workshop. During the tour, he had been captivated by the dazzling, exquisite glass products. But in the end, he didn't meet the recruitment requirements, so he gave up. How's your mother doing? He remembered that Shin hadn't been captured by the Uzunin. Instead, it was because Shin's mother had fallen ill that day, and Shin had been forced to rush into the Uzunin's camp. She's fine now. Shin's face softened into a smile. After being treated by the Uzunin, she's recovered. She's just a bit weak still. You're lucky you ran into the Uzunin's territory. Toya sighed. Otherwise, you'd probably be. Yet. Shin's expression was one of relief. It's almost unbelievable. Originally, he couldn't bear to see his mother suffering from illness at her age, but he never expected. It was a stroke of luck. Citizens of the land of whirlpools. Shin murmured with longing. Seeing the happy lives of the land of whirlpool's citizens, he felt a strong desire to become one of them. Oh, I should stop chatting. Toya glanced at the refugees starting to gather outside. This building housed refugees from the land of rain. It's time for work. I'll head out first. All right, do your best. Shin nodded, watching Toya's retreating figure before shaking his head with a smile. I need to work hard too. Since it was their first day of work, none of the refugees wanted to leave a bad impression on their supervisors. So, they had all woken up early, filled with excitement and nervousness. They knew they were only temporary workers in the land of whirlpools, not yet official citizens. But, if they worked hard, they could shed their temporary status and earn citizenship in the land of whirlpools. Seeing the happiness on the faces of the land of whirlpool's citizens, they all felt a deep yearning to become part of the nation. I need to work hard. Toya had already arrived at the gathering spot their supervisor had mentioned yesterday. He looked at the noisy crowd of refugees from the land of rain in front of the gate. Some people got here even earlier than me. Unlike Shin, Toya had no family left. When he was 13, his father had died in the war-torn land of rain. As for his mother, he had no memory of her. So, when the Uzunin captured him, Toya hadn't resisted. He had obediently followed them. Life in the land of rain had already seemed hopeless. Why keep living? But then, that day, Toya tasted his first full meal, the most delicious food he'd ever had. The food from those metal cans was unbelievably good. Ignoring the trembling refugees and the Uzunin around him, Toya had eaten voraciously, stuffing himself. Even if he died, he wanted to meet his father with a full stomach and proudly say, "Dad, I ate my fill before coming down." Yet, what he had assumed were lies from the Uzunin slowly became reality before his eyes. Yesterday, he had received his first month's salary, advanced by his supervisor. While the others had returned to their assigned rooms in disbelief, Toya had wandered alone through the commercial streets of the land of whirlpools. There, he saw civilians with smiles on their faces, ninjas helping civilians, and the land of whirlpools police force people said you could ask them for help if you had trouble. Finally, he ate what he considered the second most delicious meal of his life. Land of whirlpools ramen. So now, Toya was happier than he had ever been in his 17 years of life. He wanted to become a citizen of the land of whirlpools. Supervisor. Toya called out to a man in his 30s. Good morning. During yesterday's work assignments, he had met him, the supervisor of the 3rd construction team, named Shiro. He had originally been a war refugee too, but after coming to the land of whirlpools, he became a citizen and lived a happy life. Rumor had it he had gotten married in the land of whirlpools and now had a 5-year-old daughter. What a happy life! Ah, good morning. Tara smiled and nodded. You're all up early. Due to the expansion of the construction teams, he had recently been promoted to supervisor of the 3rd team, managing 5 squads. Go inside and eat breakfast first. Tara counted the heads and saw everyone had arrived. Make sure to eat your fill. Don't hold back if you're still hungry, get more. Otherwise, you'll get hungry quickly during work. He understood what was going through the minds of these newly arrived refugees. Excitement, worry, fear. This was how they felt now, just like how the refugees from the land of fire had felt when they first arrived in the land of whirlpools. They couldn't believe any of this was real. From now on, you can come here to eat on your own. Tara led them to the construction team's cafeteria. No need to wait for others. First come, first served. But after eating, wait for a bit. I'll assign you to your teams, and today, you'll follow your squad leaders to familiarize yourselves with the work process. Don't worry, the work isn't complicated. It's just a bit physically demanding. Terra was deeply grateful to the land of whirlpools. It was here that he had met his beloved wife and had their most precious treasure. Their daughter. Meow Meow will start school next year. Thinking of this, Terra's face broke into a smile. I wonder if she'll be able to become a ninja. Even now, it all still felt unreal, like a dream. He was immensely grateful to the land of whirlpools for giving him all of this. So, as a citizen of the land of whirlpools, he would complete every task assigned to him with dedication. Seeing the refugees still staring at him blankly, Terra snapped out of his thoughts and smiled. Get your utensils over there. Just follow what the veteran workers do, but remember to line up and don't make a fuss. All right, go eat. After listening to the supervisor's instructions, Toya followed the veteran workers and picked up a set of utensils. Everything here fascinated him, but he was also a little afraid of making a mistake and being expelled from the land of whirlpools. Soon, it was Toya's turn. A plump man in a white hat and white robe peeked out and glanced at Toya. Just as Toya thought he had done something wrong and was about to apologize. Pretty thin. Just arrived in the land of whirlpools yesterday. The chef muttered before grabbing 4 large buns. These are the land of whirlpools' specialty meat buns. Eat up. You're too skinny if you don't have strength, you won't last long doing heavy labor. Thank you. Looking at the 2 large meat buns on his tray, Toya was deeply moved. Thank you. So he hadn't done anything wrong after all. Move along. Don't block the line. There's porridge and noodles up ahead. The chef said impatiently. Next. Hearing this, Toya quickly walked forward. Even though he had been scolded, his heart felt warm. The land of whirlpools really has so many good people. Chapter 176. Uzumaki Jun was fully aware of the refugees' situation on their first day of work. Early in the morning, he had personally inspected each work site alone. Everything proceeded as he had envisioned, with no chaos or disturbances. The first batch of refugees was gradually integrating into life in the land of whirlpools. Given this progress, perhaps in a few days, when the next batch of refugees arrived, the first group could serve as role models, guiding the newcomers to adapt to life in the land of whirlpools. Humans are inherently social creatures. When they see familiar faces blending into the land of whirlpools, they too will slowly integrate and adjust. Moreover, the prolonged wars in the shinobi world have made people cherish peace even more. Additionally, due to the existence of Kekei Genkai in the shinobi world, differences in appearance are common, eliminating any racial discrimination. This is one of the advantages of the shinobi world. If Hashirama had been more assertive back then, the shinobi world would have been unified long ago, without all the current nonsense. Furthermore, these refugees would also undergo ideological education about the land of whirlpools in the evenings. Gradually, through subtle influence and the stark contrast between their previous miserable lives and their current peaceful existence in the land of whirlpools, they would eventually become citizens of the land of whirlpools. Uzumaki Jun wasn't worried that these people would eventually leave the land of rain. Given the trajectory of the shinobi world, unless the one nation one village policy was abolished, wars would never cease. Powerful shinobi would never care about the suffering of civilians. Moreover, the god of the land of rain was now in the land of whirlpools, and the angel had also arrived in the land of whirlpools. What hope did the land of rain have for peace? If Hanzo had the ability to bring peace, the land of rain would have been peaceful long ago, and Omegakure would have become the 6th great shinobi village. Until scientific ninja tools were developed and the divide between shinobi and civilians was bridged, Uzumaki Jun could confidently say. If there was a paradise in the shinobi world, it would undoubtedly be the land of whirlpools. No one would abandon a peaceful life to return to an era of chaos and war. Of course, this didn't apply to ambitious schemers. Everything in the land of whirlpools has been properly arranged. Uzumaki Jun stroked his chin. It was time for him to visit the land of rain. The hardest part was getting started. Now that things were on track, there was no need for him to oversee everything personally. As for the 3 airships from Konoha, he had already instructed the shipyard to begin construction. The current technical challenge with the airships was that the lightweight boulder technique could only be inscribed directly onto the airship, functioning as an integrated unit rather than being independently separated. Without precise machining equipment, this production method increased the cost of the airships, as no one could guarantee 0 errors in the process. Thus, this was a technical hurdle the Land of Whirlpool's research team needed to overcome, miniaturizing the lightweight boulder technique into an engine. This way, even if the airship was damaged, the engine could still be reused. Of course, only defective versions would be sold to others. Technical secrecy measures still needed to be strengthened. It's time to visit the Land of Rain. Uzumaki Jun stretched and muttered, let's see if Tsunagakure and Omegakure honor their agreements. Omegakure. Konoha, humph. Hanzo stared in the direction of Konoha. As the guardian of the Land of Rain, he was well aware of the reasons behind the prolonged turmoil in his country. Located between three great nations, the Land of Rain's development was constantly constrained by them. Thus, the Land of Rain wasn't incapable of ending its wars and achieving peace. Rather, no one wanted to see the rise of a peaceful nation led by the shinobi world's demigod. The Manjiki Sharingan. Yesterday, Hanzo had also received the shocking news that had shaken the shinobi world. Konoha had dispatched ANBU to support the Manjiki Sharingan user. Given the irrefutable evidence, Konoha would find it difficult to whitewash this incident. After all, the Uchiha clan was indeed part of Konoha's Kekii Genkai. Thus, he had heard that many villages had recently resurfaced, demanding Konoha return their stolen ninja tools and hand over the Manjiki Sharingan user. It was a pity that Omegakure had spent those 2 billion RY on the infinite gloves. Now, they could only stand by and watch the confrontation between Uzumaki and Konoha. As the shinobi world's demigod, he still had some credibility to maintain. Otherwise, with his involvement, Konoha would surely fall. Wait. Hanzo clasped his hands behind his back, his gaze profound. Perhaps this war will be the opportunity for the Land of Rain to rise. Have the civilians mastered the use of the scientific ninja tools? Hanzo asked the shinobi beside him. Tell them to familiarize themselves as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the Land of Rain has no use for incompetence. They've already begun training, the shinobi replied hesitantly. But for some reason, many civilians in the Land of Rain have disappeared. Some houses still have belongings inside, but the people are gone. During his recent patrols to recruit civilians, he had visited several areas only to find them completely deserted. Civilians have disappeared. Hanzo frowned after hearing the report. Any clues as to why? Were shinobi slaughtering civilians? Though he didn't particularly care about civilians without shinobi potential, they were still citizens of the Land of Rain. It seems someone took them away, the Rainin answered respectfully. But we haven't found any leads. It was as though whenever they appeared, nothing unusual happened. In that case, Hanzo pondered for a moment, ignore it for now. Focus on training the civilians to use the ninja tools. Since Omegakure couldn't afford to purchase so many tools anyway, they didn't need too many civilians. This matter could be addressed later. This period of calm won't last long. Hanzo stared solemnly beyond the village. Omegakure must be prepared. In this war, they would establish the Land of Rain's prestige. Yes. Land of Rain Tsunagakure battlefield. This letter. Kamaki frowned as he examined the missive delivered by Tsunagakure's front lines. It must be given to Lord Jun. What could this be about? As someone privy to the details of this war, he knew about the deal between Lord Jun and the Kazekage. But the agreed 5 months hadn't yet passed. Why was Tsunagakure contacting Lord Jun now? What's going on? Hibiki entered, noticing Kamaki's thoughtful expression as he stared at the letter. Why did the Sunanin come here? They delivered a letter for Lord Jun, Kamaki replied, still frowning. We don't know the contents yet. But we should stay vigilant. I have a bad feeling about this. As for the letter, we'll have to wait for the airship to return before delivering it to Lord Jun. Before Kamaki could finish, a familiar voice interrupted. What needs to be given to me? Uzumaki Jun appeared, looking puzzled at Kamaki and Kai. What's the matter? A letter from Tsunagakure, Kamaki said, startled by the sudden appearance. He handed it over respectfully. They insisted it must be delivered to you personally. Tsunagakure. Uzumaki Jun took the letter, confused. What was that bald man up to now? Given that the Land of Whirlpools was currently at war with Tsunagakure, sending secret correspondence was risky. Weren't they afraid of being discovered? Uzumaki Jun opened the letter with suspicion. He'd read it first. After scanning the contents, his eyes narrowed. That Kazekage must be desperate for money. Chapter 177, The Kazekage, not a single one is normal. Uzumaki Jun sneered as he looked at the letter from the Kazekage in his hand. Then, a small flame burned it to ashes. Was this bald gangster out of his mind? He had thought the second Kazekage, who created magnet release and puppet techniques, would be somewhat reasonable. Yet, he turned out to be another lunatic. To think he would dare extort money from Uzumaki Jun himself. Did he really think the land of whirlpools feared Tsunagakuer? Did he not know that these airships belonged to the Akatsuki? Seems like he really doesn't know. Uzumaki Jun stroked his chin and muttered. Only Konoha seems to be aware of it for now. Lord Jun, should we declare war on Tsunagakuer? Kamaki asked. Seeing the chilling aura emanating from Lord Jun after reading the letter, it was clear Tsunagakuer was stirring trouble. Was the land of whirlpools about to go to war with Tsunagakuer this time? Stop thinking about fighting all the time, Uzumaki Jun shook his head and said coldly. Now is not the time. If they declared war on Tsunagakuer now, what if they fought desperately? Wouldn't the land of whirlpools' reputation be ruined? After all, hadn't Zetsu worked tirelessly to spread the land of whirlpools' name, suffering hardships, shedding sweat and sacrificing countless white Zetsu? So, they couldn't afford to break ties with Tsunagakuer now. Continue focusing on recruitment. Leave the rest to me, Uzumaki Jun said indifferently. I'll handle it. He sighed. Now I understand how this Kazekage died. He was beaten to death. To think he wanted free airships, what a joke. And he demanded 10 at once? Even Konoha only had 3, and they paid for them. Yet, he threatened the land of whirlpools to hand over 10 for free? Ha! He must be senile. So the Manjiki really belongs to Konoha. Sandaime Kazekage looked at the intelligence report in his hands. The Rinnegan pursued a traitor for thousands of miles, only to be regretfully stopped by Konoha. Manjiki, Rinnegan. Sandaime Kazekage set down the report, frowning and muttering, Akatsuki. He knew about the Rinnegan, wasn't that the arms-dealing messenger of peace? But he hadn't expected the Manjiki to belong to Konoha. It wasn't a lie after all. Konoha even sent Anbu to assist. Sandaime Kazekage's lips curled into a smirk. It seems Konoha is really in trouble this time. That was the Manjiki. The infamous Manjiki, known for massacring clans. Konoha's previous intimidation efforts were likely wasted because they hadn't been falsely accused. The evidence was right here. Unless Konoha could provide proof of their innocence or give the entire shinobi world an explanation, this war would undoubtedly be a free-for-all against Konoha. As for whether it was true, no one cared. If even Konoha sent reinforcements, how could it be fake? So, all they wanted was profit. What a shame. It seems Tsunagakuer won't be joining the fun this time, Sandaime Kazekage said regretfully. Tsunagakuer was still cooperating with the land of whirlpools. Of course, if the airships weren't. The land of whirlpools would be finished too. However, no, if Tsunagakuer wants to join the fun, I'll help you. A cold voice suddenly echoed in the Kazekage's office. Who's there? Sandaime Kazekage immediately grew alert. Why did people keep appearing unannounced in the Kazekage's office lately? What were the Anbu and guards doing? Don't bother calling for help, a figure slowly emerged from the shadows and said flatly. I've set up a barrier here. No one will notice for a while. This second Kazekage, like the Hokage, rarely left the village due to his age. So assassinating him was quite troublesome. Hadn't Uzumaki Jun already quietly dealt with the shinobi around the Kazekage's office? Sandaime Kazekage stared at the figure before him, black robe with red clouds, a spiral-patterned mask, and Manjiki Sharingan. Konoha. Ninja Academy. This ugly freak. A child sneered at the little girl with her head lowered nearby. Dressed in rags like a beggar. Why would the Hokage let someone like her attend school? Disgusting. Yet. Another child chimed in. She must be an outsider beggar. The Hokage is too kind, taking in trash like this. In my opinion, they should all be sent to Anbu. Right, send them to Anbu. Better not let them out, another child agreed. The blonde girl kept her head down, not raising it. She didn't understand why these people hated her so much. She had never done anything to them. As for looking like a beggar, before coming to Konoha, she really had been a beggar. Though their words were harsh, the girl didn't dare lift her head to fight back. As an outsider, she feared that speaking out or fighting would get her killed or expelled from the village. That day, she and a few other children were brought to Konoha. Then, she passed out and only woke up a few days ago. Since then, she had been living here and was told to attend the ninja academy. She didn't know what happened to the others brought with her, as she hadn't seen them in the village. Though many in the academy insulted her, she still liked it here. There was no war, there was food, and there was shelter. The only downside was the single small bread given daily. It wasn't enough to fill her stomach. But it was still better than nothing. She was content. So she ignored those who mocked her, afraid of losing what little she had. I wonder what's for food today. The girl lowered her head, tuning out the voices around her. I heard there's a river nearby with fish. Should I check it out after class? Otherwise, the orphanage's bread was too small to satisfy her. Just as the girl was thinking about how to catch and eat fish after school, a different voice reached her ears. You're blonde too? Just like me. Hearing this, the girl raised her head in confusion and froze. Before her stood a blonde boy, smiling at her with a gentleness unlike the others. Hi, my name is Manjiki Sharingan. Sandame Kazekage stared in shock at Uzumaki Jun. Did Tsunagakure also possess some six paths tool? Why else would this Manjiki user come here? Magnet release, iron sand. Without hesitation, Sandame Kazekage formed hand seals. For now, he had to detain him. But before his jutsu could activate. Genjutsu, 2-second stun. Uzumaki Jun said coldly. Did he really think he could use magnet release? What a joke. Did he think Uzumaki Jun's super cage level genjutsu and taijutsu were for show? 2 seconds were more than enough. Uzumaki Jun instantly appeared beside him and then stab. Sandame Kazekage looked down at his chest, eyes widening. He turned to the masked man and gasped, You! Who are you? Yet. Uzumaki Jun, still masked, blinked. Guess. Chapter 178, The second Kazekage disappears. Night. Kazekage-sama, there is a report. A Sunanin knocked on the door of the Kazekage's office. However, after waiting for a while, he still did not hear the Kazekage's voice. He frowned. Has Kazekage-sama fallen asleep? The Kazekage had indeed been very tired these days. Although Tsunagakure and Uzushiagakure were currently in a standoff at the border, no battles had broken out. However, the arrangements for the war and the mobilization of troops could not be delayed for even a moment. After all, everyone knew that this period of peace would not last long. The Sunanin frowned, unsure whether he should wake the Kazekage. The Kazekage was no longer young, and staying up late for long periods was very harmful to his health. Should I come back later? The Sunanin thought for a moment. Then, holding the documents, he decided to ask the patrolling ninja to notify him immediately once the Kazekage woke up. This report had come from the land of fire. It must be very important. But where are the patrolling ninja? The Sunanin waited for a while and frowned as he looked around. Why hasn't anyone come even after so long? Moreover, the Kazekage building was unusually quiet today. Suddenly, he remembered something. When he had entered the Kazekage building earlier, there had been no guards at the door either. The Sunanin immediately sensed that something was wrong. He turned around and banged on the door, shouting, Kazekage-sama! Kazekage-sama! But there was still no response. Bam! The Sunanin forcefully kicked the door open and rushed inside in a panic. Kaka! Kazekage! He froze in shock. Enemy attack! Uzumaki Jun stopped and looked back at Tsunagakure, which had suddenly lit up with piercing alarms. He murmured, It seems someone has noticed. Since this was not yet the era of advanced technology seen in later years, the lights in the distance were not the street lamps of Uzushiagakure but oil lamps and torches. You threatened me. Uzumaki Jun looked at Tsunagakure, a mysterious smile appearing on his lips. I wonder what expression they'll have when they realize their village leader is missing and see the traces left behind. Hehe, they must be wearing expressions of disbelief right now. But sigh, I wonder what will happen to that cooperation agreement. Uzumaki Jun sighed. The cooperation between Uzushiagakure and Tsunagakure was only known to a few high-ranking Sunanin. The rest were just ordinary ninja following orders. Uzumaki Jun didn't know if they would continue the cooperation with Uzushiagakure after discovering that Sandame was missing. If not, Uzushiagakure would have to recruit people from Omegakure instead. The only problem was whether they could get back those 2 billion ryo. As Uzumaki Jun pondered how to control the situation and prevent Tsunagakure from discovering that this incident was related to Uzushiagakure. Whoosh! Uzumaki Jun noticed a sudden burst of flames in the distance and blinked. Great fireball technique! Tsunagakure didn't have many who used fire release, and this direction wasn't even toward the village. It seems ninja from another village have come to Tsunagakure's border and been discovered. Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes. Who would come to Tsunagakure at this time? He had just dealt with someone, and now ninja from another village showed up. Were they here to stir up trouble because Tsunagakure and Uzushiagakure had been at peace? That was too hasty. Let's see who it is first. Uzumaki Jun sighed. I hope nothing goes wrong now. It seems to be magnet release. A Sunanin crouched down and examined the bodies in the Kazekage's office, frowning. And they were all killed in one strike. You mean? A woman with purple hair, around 40 years old but still elegant, stepped forward and frowned. Could it really be him? The surrounding high-ranking officials tensed at her words, staring at the dozen or so ninja lying on the floor in disbelief. If this was true, why would the Kazekage do such a thing? Magnet release was created by the Kazekage, and very few in Tsunagakure could use it. Moreover, these ninja, whether genin or janin, had all been killed without any resistance. This could only mean the attacker was someone familiar, even someone they would not dare to resist. Has the Kazekage been found yet? A man in his 30s grabbed a nearby Sunanin and shouted. What about the ANBU? Have they found anything? Elder Cho, there's still no sign of the Kazekage, the Sunanin replied respectfully. It seems we need to prepare for the worst, the woman said, frowning again. Regardless of whether the Kazekage has betrayed the village or not, we... Impossible. A young man suddenly stepped forward and glared at the woman. Elder Cho, my teacher would never betray the village. You know how much he loves Tsunagakure. Sigh. Cho sighed. I don't want to believe it either, but... Magnet release alone doesn't prove anything, and these ninja don't either, the young man said firmly. Maybe the enemy just happened to know magnet release and was very strong. Perhaps you're right, Cho said helplessly. But we're in the middle of a war. We must elect the third Kazekage immediately. If other villages take advantage of this, Tsunagakure will be in trouble. As for Sandame, let's classify this as top secret for now. Seal off all information about today and send ANBU to continue investigating. If anything is found, report it immediately. The war had just begun, and the leader of the village had disappeared. This would greatly affect the morale of the lower-ranking ninja, especially since they were cooperating with Uzushiagakure. All of this needed to be resolved. She hoped today's news wouldn't leak. Otherwise, Tsunagakure would be in grave danger. Understood. The young man clenched his fists but eventually relaxed them and bowed his head. I'll make the arrangements. Don't worry, no one suspects you, Ebis patted the young man's shoulder. But until things are clarified, you might need to. Ebis didn't finish his sentence. He knew the young man understood. As the second Kazekage student, he had been a strong candidate for the third Kazekage. But now, until the village investigated thoroughly, no one would feel at ease letting him move freely in the village, let alone allowing him to become Kazekage. I understand, the young man nodded, his gaze calm as he looked at Ebis. I'll cooperate with the village's investigation. But inwardly, he felt bitter. He had been so close to the Kazekage's seat. Sigh. Ebis patted his shoulder again but said nothing more before leaving with the others. With the Kazekage gone, the village's authority now rested with the elders. So now, there were many things to resolve. Chapter 179, Before Snake Uncle Changes. It's better not to meet. How did you get here? Uzumaki Jun frowned as he looked at the two girls and one boy in front of him. I remember the Konoha battlefield isn't in this area. He had originally planned to set a trap for Konoha, but now, faced with 3 children around 10 years old, he couldn't bring himself to do it. So, after secretly using the body flicker technique to eliminate the 2 Suna Jonin, he walked up to them with a helpless expression. What a headache! It's you! A black-haired girl stared at Uzumaki Jun in surprise. That annoying redhead. Hearing Uchiha Mikato's words, Uzumaki Jun's forehead immediately sprouted a vein. Had he ever offended her? Back then, he had only asked her for directions, right? Was she really that resentful? Or had she been punished by the Uchiha clan for leading a stranger around? Long time no see. Uzumaki Jun forced a smile. After all, she was the future mother of another child of prophecy. It was better not to antagonize her, or who knew what accidents might occur. And perhaps in the future, the Uchiha would become part of Ozushiagakuer? Then Itaki and Suzuki would become the successors of Ozushiagakuer's red ideology. Better to build a good relationship first. Humph. Uchiha Mikato narrowed her eyes at Uzumaki Jun. Back then, you ran off without saying a word. Her two teammates looked at her in confusion. Their companion didn't usually have the typical Uchiha arrogance. She was gentle, good at cooking, and caring. What was going on today? They examined the red-haired boy in front of them. He looked about their age handsome, too. And his strength was incredible. Those were two jonin. Yet he had taken them out in one move. Was Mikato acting like this because? Thank you for your help. A girl stepped forward and bowed. I'm Shiraki Karin. These are my teammates Ueda Ren and Uchiha Mikato. Uzumaki Jun. Uzumaki Jun smiled and nodded. It seemed that apart from Uchiha Mikato, the other two were just extras. Probably Hiruzen Sarutobi still didn't trust the Uchiha clan to get too close to other clans. Uzumaki Jun. The three Konoha children stared at the red-haired boy in shock. The ally of Konoha, the daimyo of Ozushiagakuer known for his benevolence, the youngest kage in shinobi history. Karin covered her mouth, looking at Uzumaki Jun in disbelief. Is it really you? Her eyes sparkled as she stared at Uzumaki Jun. No wonder her best friend was acting like this. If it were her, she'd have already clung to him. Uzumaki Jun smiled and nodded modestly. You flatter me, you flatter me. So he was already this famous in the shinobi world? Uchiha Mikato was also stunned when she heard Uzumaki Jun's name. No wonder she hadn't seen him in Konoha afterward, he wasn't from the village. A hint of regret flashed in her eyes as she stepped forward and bowed. I apologize, A&D. Thank you. Who would have thought the last time she'd see him would be when he saved her? No need. Uzumaki Jun looked at Uchiha Mikato. This was more like the gentle housewife he remembered, even if she was still just a little girl now. He smiled. Consider it thanks for showing me the way last time. Uchiha Fugaku was really something. Going after a clanmate 5 years his junior. No, I still have to thank you. Uchiha Mikato shook her head firmly. No matter what, you saved us. Uzumaki Jun turned away and chuckled awkwardly. Where's your team leader? He had come here to set a trap. Saving them. That was just an accident. Judging by their ages, they were genin, so they should have a jonin sensei. Uemura sensei, he. Uchiha Mikato and the other two lowered their heads, saying nothing. It seemed this extra sensei had died. Uzumaki Jun rubbed his chin as he observed the three. They must have been on a mission with their jonin sensei, but the sensei had died. As for the mission, a jonin leading 3 genin, it was probably reconnaissance or something similar. Asking directly. Uzumaki Jun still had some shinobi ethics. As a shinobi, asking about another village's mission was taboo. I'll take you back. Uzumaki Jun thought for a moment. This place is dangerous. I've heard Suna has been acting strangely lately. But I'm not sure what's going on yet, so you should leave quickly. We. Uchiha Mikato and the other two exchanged glances. Thank you. Especially Karin and Ren nodded eagerly, not saying anything else. They were even a little excited this was a cage. If he escorted them back, it would be extremely safe. As for Uchiha Mikato, she glanced at Uzumaki Jun, a faint smile on her lips. She remembered their first meeting. How strange. Konoha camp. Who goes there? As Uzumaki Jun and the three approached, a Konoha jonin leaped out and shouted. He blocked their entry. We're Konoha genin. Uchiha Mikato stepped forward and handed over their identification. We ran into some trouble. Explanation. So you were Uemura's team. The jonin sighed inwardly and looked at them. Don't be too sad. As shinobi, casualties are inevitable. After comforting them, he glanced at the red-haired boy behind them. "Thank you for your help, but please wait here. I need to report to Lord Orochimaru." So the commander here was Snake Uncle. Uzumaki Jun quickly shook his head. "No need. The battlefield in Uzushiogakure still needs me, so I have to return immediately." Without waiting for a response, he used the Flying Thunder God technique. Now wasn't the time to meet Snake Uncle. Before he turned against Konoha, it was better not to meet Orochimaru. Who knew what might be discovered? After all, scientific minds were sharp, especially Orochimaru's, the creator of the technology that drove the entire Boruto plot. It was better not to meet someone like him now. Though Uzushiogakure desperately needed talent, Snake Uncle wouldn't join them at this stage. Better to meet later. Maybe they could collaborate in the future. Right now, Uzumaki Jun would rather meet the Toad Sage than Orochimaru. After all, Mount Maiboko had beautiful scenery, and who knew what dreams the great Toad Sage would have, what prophecies might arise. So, better to discuss cooperation after Orochimaru went rogue. What a cage! The Konoha Jonin sighed as he watched Uzumaki Jun disappear. He really does know space-time ninjutsu. Uchiha Mikoto watched Uzumaki Jun vanish, then sighed inwardly. She turned to see Karin staring at her curiously. "What's wrong?" She touched her face. "Is there dirt?" "No." Karin blinked, then smiled and hugged Uchiha Mikoto. Mikoto was startled but didn't resist, letting Karin hold her. She smiled softly. "It's okay." "Yet." Karin hugged her tightly. "It's good to be alive." Chapter 180, Saving the People of the Shinobi World. The next day. Morning. Uzumaki Jun did not return to Uzushiogakure last night. Instead, he remained on the battlefield. After all, if he went back, Kushina would probably pester him to bring her to the battlefield. Although nothing would happen if he personally looked after her, but he still had organizational work to complete, like now. "Kyoko, you should go back to work," Uzumaki Jun said to Uzumaki Kyoko beside him with a smile. She had been by his side since this morning. Though having a cute female secretary around was somewhat enjoyable, the medical ninja in the camp were still severely understaffed. Kyoko must be very busy, so it was better not to waste her time here. Uzumaki Kyoko frowned slightly in thought before nodding. "Then I'll go for now. If you need anything, just call me." Though she liked staying here, as a doctor, professional ethics still mattered. She refilled the tea on Jun's desk, then turned and hurried toward the medical department. She had already relaxed for half a day and fallen behind on a lot of work. Now, she had to catch up quickly, or else she might lose to Nono. Uzumaki Jun took a sip of tea. Sensing that Kyoko had gone far, he smiled and looked at the floor. "Since you're here, why not show yourself? Then, what do you want?" A faint voice emerged from beneath the floor. Zetsu frowned as he slowly rose, looking at the smiling Uzumaki Jun before him and sighing inwardly. Last time, this brat had complained that the organization was short-staffed and couldn't recruit people, so Zetsu had given him a spore to contact him. But who cared about this stupid organization's problems? He hadn't given the brat a way to contact him precisely because he didn't want to be constantly bothered for filming. After all, he had a great mission to fulfill. How could he waste time on such trivial matters? Now, he even wanted contact information? Ha, absolutely not, cough. He couldn't win. He couldn't win. So, in the end, he had no choice but to compromise. He wasn't doing this because he was scared, but to preserve his usefulness for the sake of rescuing Mother. Our company's performance has grown rapidly and reached a bottleneck. Uzumaki Jun set down his teacup and smiled at Zetsu. So, it's time to establish a branch? Zetsu stared blankly at Uzumaki Jun. What did that mean? Why didn't he understand? Ah! Seeing Zetsu's confused expression, Uzumaki Jun sighed, then put on an excited smile. You've been promoted. Promoted? Aren't you happy to hear this news? Look how happy you are, you're stunned. Who's happy? Zetsu's heart skipped a beat at Uzumaki Jun's expression. Why did he have a bad feeling about this? What was this brat planning now? Kyoko-ne, is my dad okay? A child with spiky orange hair looked anxiously at Uzumaki Kyoko. Why hasn't he woken up yet? Your father is fine. Uzumaki Kyoko crouched down and smiled at the child. Are you called Yahiko? Yet. Yahiko nodded. I'm Yahiko. Your father is sick and needs to rest now. Kyoko patted Yahiko's head gently. He'll probably wake up soon. Really? Yahiko's face brightened with joy. Dad will wake up soon. Yes, Kyoko nodded. So you can go eat first and prepare some food for your dad. Remember, eating more helps recovery. Okay, okay. Yahiko jumped up happily. I'll go eat now. He stopped at the door, turned back, and bowed. Thank you, Kyoko-ne. Uzumaki Kyoko waved. Go on. You want to create another organization? Zetsu frowned. Why? Though he didn't want to admit it. Wasn't the Akatsuki doing just fine? Its reputation had spread throughout the shinobi world, even if it only had 3 members, including himself. But others didn't know that. Manjiki, Rinnegan, the god of shinobi's equal. No, no, Uzumaki Jun shook his head and patted Zetsu's shoulder with a smile. You're the one creating the organization. What did that mean? Zetsu stared blankly at Uzumaki Jun. Could he even control an organization? Don't joke around. His strength, as you know, was weak. There was no way he could make others obey. However, don't worry, Uchiha Shin will help you, Uzumaki Jun grinned. There won't be any problems. Then isn't this organization still yours? Zetsu asked suspiciously. If so, why not handle it yourself? What did he need him for? To take the blame? No, these organizations all belong to Boss Madara, Uzumaki Jun said righteously. It's just that Boss Madara is busy now, so I'm temporarily managing them. Yeah, right. Zetsu sighed and looked at Uzumaki Jun. What exactly do you want to do? Make you the legal representative, Uzumaki Jun narrowed his eyes. And also have you do a small task for the organization. Hearing the word small task, Zetsu's heart skipped a beat. This brat was planning something again. Don't worry, it's really just a small thing, Uzumaki Jun smiled and patted Zetsu's shoulder. It's for the peace of the shinobi world. You should be happy to do it. Who's happy? I don't want peace in the shinobi world at all. Zetsu gulped and tried to escape with earth release, only to find himself completely immobilized by the brat. He could only ask cautiously, what is it? It's just. Uzumaki Jun grinned at Zetsu. Having you save the people of the shinobi world. Konoha and Uegakure battlefield. A 7-year-old cage. Orochimaru looked at the intelligence report handed to him by a Jainin and sighed. Truly a genius. As for the so-called eternal friendship between Konoha and Uzumaki, he didn't believe a single word. Unlike that idiot Jiraiya, as the Hokage's designated successor, he knew some inside information, such as this alliance was bought with sealing scrolls and 500 million RY. And from the looks of it, Uzumaki hadn't even fought Tsunagakure or Megakure. Though he didn't know the reason. Uzumaki had indeed taken advantage of Konoha. Has the Uchiha clan received the orders sent by Konoha? Orochimaru smiled faintly, narrowing his eyes. We can't afford any mistakes now. They've already been recalled, the Jainin nodded. But some are still on missions and don't know yet. No matter, Orochimaru waved his hand. Notify them when they return. Uchiha, Manjiki. Looking at the report in his hand, Orochimaru's eyes gleamed with curiosity. What will the old man do now? The entire shinobi world was watching Konoha.
Thanks for listening.